chronic, left, right, Jaco, left, right, ooh yeah, ah boy.
Shalom, 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 Asio, Halito, Namaste, peace out there to all the faiths, the Essenes, the Nazarenes, the Israelites, and all the true worshipers of the Most High Creator. Peace to the righteous gods and Nirvanian goddesses, Creator gang. It's your boy Cosma, your hostess with the mostest, burning like toasters, right back like I left something, you hear me? This is Jehovah Chronicles, number 11. And I think this is going to be a little different. You dig what I'm talking about? This is going to be the 11th installment, not necessarily a lesson, always building back, but we want to always clean up and bring out any information that we can glean from what surrounds us, historical texts and books, empirical data, you know what I mean? Weigh them against the objective and the subjective to try to find truth in everything. You dig what I'm talking about? So, with that being said, this is going to be Jehovah Chronicles number 11. Nimrod. We're going to get into what's commonly known about Nimrod. We're going to bring out some text from the Apocrypha, from the book of Joshua, and we're going to get into some stuff that you haven't read, that you don't know. You know what I mean? I'm going to bring out the lost books of King Og himself. Yes, the big dog himself, the masher, the mangler, cannibal animal, King Og, the king of Bashan. We're going to hear about Nimrod backstory. We're going to hear about some things that you never heard about, why they call him a great hunter. You see what I'm saying? And also another thing that you've heard that actually stems from Nimrod that you didn't know stems from Nimrod, where it says from evil begets evil, or evil begets evil. That is actually a insight about the nature of Nimrod and his son. You dig what I'm talking about? But we're gonna bring this out, man. I wanted to also bring out that you're gonna notice, right, that during the story that Og tells, right, and you're gonna know many of these names. One great name you're gonna know is Anak. You know what I mean? We're gonna get down into who Anak was and why, and why his name over time has been mentioned, you know what I mean, so much. And you will always, one thing you got to remember is that these men are said to be giants, and not only giants, Nephilim, right? But we're going to let out a big secret today about Nephilim and Raphaim. Huh? We're going to get into the stuff. See, Cosmon ain't here to teach you what you already know. You dig what I'm talking about? I'm here to teach you some stuff that you don't know. You know what I mean? I want to find my list time, my arc cycle, my list of the arc cycles, because okay, Hold on 1 second. I want to find my list of the arc cycles because I want to show you that there is a misunderstanding of what's going on, and we need to clear this up, right? Because Og is going to tell you two things. In the story of Nimrod, tells you these two same facts. That one, right? They were around during a great flood. We know that the flood happened during the 17th arc cycle. I want to show y'all this real quick. Let me share my screen with you. All right. I'll show my screen with you. Okay. Now we see. Hold on. Can I blow that up a little bit more? Maybe I can blow that up just a little bit more, fellas. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Let me scoot it over. Okay. Okay. Now you're gonna see a thing that's gonna may boggle your mind a little bit, and that is that Nimrod and Og are gonna tell you about a time pre-flood. Now we know, being faithists, the flood happened in the 17th arc cycle of Noah, under the Orion chief Eighth, right? Taking place during the 5th era, during the 17th arc cycle of 51,000 years, right? After the creation of man, or 25,000 years ago, now today, before the time of Cosmos, right? So he's going to tell you about a time pre-flood where they existed, right? He's going to tell you about a great deluge. But then also, they go on later to come all the way down here to the 22nd and also into the 23rd arc cycle, or from roughly 3950, from 7,000 to 39,000, 7,053 to 39,053 years. You dig what I'm talking about? He's going to tell about having an encounter, or speaking of Abram. How is it? How could that possibly be when they are, this is 22,553 BC, and this is, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, roughly 18,000 years later. How are they talking about Moses and Abram, which come down here in the 23rd arc cycle from 3953 BC to 1553 BC? Another great secret we're going to learn today is, and from 3953 BC to 3949 BC was the time, right, that Abram walked in to the land that would later become Egypt, right? And we're going to show that he was 40 years old, and then that lasted 4 years, and the same thing happened to Moses. He was 40 years old. He led his people out for 4 years, 4.5 years, and they're exactly 2,400 years apart. So from 3953 BC and 1553 BC to 3949 and 553 BC to 1549 BC, 2,400 years apart exactly, is the covenant. It is the ark of the covenant. But now you must ask yourself, what is the covenant? The covenant was made by Creator to save his people through the goddess Simtiamaj, Orion chieftainess. She walked them in, promised to walk them out. That was the covenant. Proven by the etheric light dropping on these people before them in the day, after them in the night. You know what I mean? Okay. You dig what I'm talking about? Going to see if anybody come in, but we ain't worried about them. You know what I mean? Y'all come on in, man. You know, before I get this started, you know what I mean? Want to get some more people in the room. Let's throw some jams on real quick. You dig what I'm talking about while I set up. And let's rock out. You dig what I'm talking about? It's your boy, Cosmonian. Get that back on. Right. Oh, Chronicles number 11. Nimrod. Well, let's get into it real quick. It's your boy Nimrod real fast for you. Make sure I'm sharing my screen and sharing. And here we go.
Calling someone a Nimrod probably isn't the way to win friends. The name Nimrod has a long history that stretches back to when humanity started cultivating civilization as we know it. So, who was Nimrod? And should we be insulted if someone yells that name at us? First, it is important to establish that Nimrod is a biblical figure. No historical record has been found that refers to him, despite the ancient Assyrian city of Nimrud bearing great similarity to his name. Some biblical scholars now believe that Nimrod refers to a Mesopotamian people rather than an individual, although others feel the evidence shows he was, without a doubt, a specific person. It has been speculated that the story was derived from an old Babylonian tale, yet the name Nimrod has never been found in any Babylonian records. However, one ancient Babylonian epic may be linked to Nimrod, but more on that later in the video. Everything we know about Nimrod comes straight from the Bible, and he is described in Genesis 10, 8-12.
Well, not no more.
Chronicles 1:10 and Micah 5:6. Although his name does not appear in the Quran, Islamic scholars believe that the king who argued with Abraham was Nimrod. In Genesis, we learn Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Uruk, Akkad, and Calneh in Shinar. From that land, he went to Assyria, where he built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Resen, which is between Nineveh and Calah, which is a great city. Of course, nowadays, there are many versions of the Bible, and some versions state Nimrod was the first on earth to be a mighty man, while others read he was the first on earth to be a hero. Some people believe that the original English translation from Hebrew is completely wrong, and the passage should read, Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a tyrant in the earth. He was a tyrannical hunter in opposition to the Lord. Thus it is said, Nimrod, the tyrannical opponent of Yahweh. This postulation is due to the Hebrew word Gibor, which potentially means tyrant. But as the Bible uses Gibor many other times to describe champions and warriors, the conclusion that the passage should read that Nimrod was a flat-out tyrant is rather tenuous. While much about Nimrod is disputed, one thing widely agreed upon is that he was the great-grandson of Noah by way of Ham and then Cush. In the Old Testament, 1 Chronicles 1:10 backs up the early statement. Cush was the father of Nimrod, and Micah only alludes to Nimrod when talking about Assyria, who will rule the land of Assyria with the sword, the land of Nimrod with drawn sword. As Cush has now been linked to the ancient Cushites of Sudan, it seems strange that Nimrod would be placed in Mesopotamia. Some historians explain this discrepancy by postulating that Cush actually refers to the Kassites, who once ruled Babylon, or Kashta, a region in Asia Minor. Many scholars consider that land of Shinar, where Cush is said to have lived, in the land of Sumer. Dr. David P. Livingstone suggests that the Sumerian city of Kish took its name from Cush, and was the first city to be established after the biblical flood. He also believes that migrations from Mesopotamia took the name of Cush to modern-day Ethiopia, which was once the land of Cush. Given the scant information about Nimrod and the lack of any historical evidence, the number of myths and legends attributed to him is astounding. The fact that the name survives today, regardless of its association, is a feat in itself. As the supposed founder of Babylon, amongst other ancient Mesopotamian cities, Nimrod is often credited with being the founder of human civilization. However, many also paint him as an egomaniacal tyrant who built the Tower of Babel in defiance of God. But the stories don't end there. According to some internet sources, Nimrod was a Nephilim giant who built Babylon with divine technology and, aided by extraterrestrials, constructed a space-time travel port called the Tower of Babel. With so many post-biblical tales linked to Nimrod, the only way we can fully explore this legend is by reviewing the traditions and stories about him. Hebrew and Christian cultures firmly placed Nimrod as the king who ordered the construction of the Tower of Babel. Several Judaic sources cite that King Amraphel, Abraham's rival in Genesis, is really Nimrod, which echoes Islamic beliefs about the king who wars with Abraham. Jewish scholar and priest Flavius Josephus was amongst many ancient historians to rewrite and embellish biblical stories. He attributed the building of the Tower of Babel to Nimrod, writing, "Now it was Nimrod who excited them to such an affront and contempt of God." He also said he would be revenged on God if he should have a mind to drown the world again, for that he would build a tower too high for the waters to reach. Now the multitude were very ready to follow the determination of Nimrod and to esteem it a piece of cowardice to submit to God, and they built a tower. When God saw that they had acted so madly, he caused a tumult among them by producing many diverse languages. The place wherein they built the tower is called Babylon, because of the confusion of that language. For the Hebrews mean by the word Babel, confusion. Josephus wrote this around 2100 years ago. However, we should also remember that he was adding to an already ancient story. While the dating of Genesis is highly contested, Babylon was founded around 2300 BCE. So more time has passed since the founding of Babylon and the birth of Josephus than between Josephus's death and today. Other contemporaries of Josephus interpreted the line, a mighty hunter before the Lord, to mean that he was in opposition to the Lord, and he is described as the archetypal wicked king. Supposedly, as a young man, Nimrod possessed the garments of Adam, which gave him supernatural powers to subdue any animal and sway people. This story greatly influenced his reputation as a mighty hunter and enabled him to entice people into idolatrous worship. His name has also been linked to a Hebrew word for rebel, Marad. Some scholars believe that this implies that he was given the name Nimrod because of his rebellion against God, and that Nimrod was not his original name, but instead a description of his character. In Jewish and Islamic traditions, Nimrod clashes with Abraham. Nimrod sets about killing infant boys after being told by diviners that a new baby would challenge his power. However, Abraham manages to escape the call. Many stories surround this conflict. One such story details how Abraham confronts Nimrod about.
I just want to add in that this is for educational purposes only. Educational purposes only. These are myths and fairy tales, or so we thought. And now more information is coming out, and it is to bring edification to the whole. And this is just a fair use warning. All right, y'all. Let's get back to it.
About his idolatry, and Nimrod orders that Abraham be burned at the stake. Some accounts detail the exchange between Abraham and Nimrod, in which Nimrod.
Notice they talking about Nimrod is speaking with Abraham. Okay. Philosophy tells us that the birth of Abraham comes 40 years before the arc of Spita, the 23rd arc cycle, right? Remember, we're talking about 17th arc cycle, 23rd arc cycle, 18,000 years apart when you say Og and Nimrod and flood, and then you say Og and Nimrod and Abraham. 18,000 years apart. We're gonna work on the understanding of what's really going on, because we obviously know these men didn't live no 18,000 years old. Were they very old? We're going to find out their own mouth that they say they lived pretty long at this time. Upwards of 500 plus years. Because there is a story Nimrod also speaking to Joseph sometime later. But let's get back into it.
Commands Abraham to worship fire. Abraham retorts that they should worship water, since water puts out fire. Abraham then leads Nimrod down a logical path of honoring clouds that hold the water, or wind which blows the clouds, and finally lands on worshiping humans. Some say that Abraham's reasoning is because humans can withstand wind, and others claim that it was because the word for wind was synonymous with the term for the human spirit. Whatever Abraham's reasoning, Nimrod became angry and accused Abraham of playing with words, declaring that he only worshiped fire. He ended his rant with an order that Abraham be cast into his furnace. For 4 years, Nimrod's subjects gathered firewood, yet Abraham walks away unscathed when the fire is lit. In the Quran, Abraham discusses the power of God with an unnamed king, and many assign the role to Nimrod. Abraham states that Allah gives life and causes death, after which the king asserts that he is the one who gives life and causes death. Abraham then angers the king by challenging him to bring up the sun in the west, as Allah brings it up in the east. However, according to Genesis genealogy, Nimrod and Abraham may have lived up to 300 years apart. Nimrod was the great-grandson of Noah, but several generations separate Abraham from his forefather Shem.
Is that true?
Son. The issue of time can be resolved due to the long lifespans described in Genesis. It is said that Shem and his descendants lived for up to 500 years. The Bible does not detail the age of Ham or Cush when they have their children, and since Nimrod was part of this family, by the same logic, he could have been hundreds of years old when Abraham was born. Nimrod also appears in Kitab el-Magal, an early Arabic work. This work adds more details to Nimrod's life, saying he reigned for 69 years and that he received divine inspiration to commission and wear the first crown ever worn by a king, and that he and his followers worshipped fire and idolatry. Speculation about Nimrod is still rife, with some suggesting that he was the Mesopotamian hero Gilgamesh, citing similarities between the two legendary figures. The story of Gilgamesh seems to parallel that of Noah and the flood. Gilgamesh comes from Erech, a city included in Nimrod's kingdom, and it could be argued that they are from the same era. Both Nimrod and Gilgamesh are described as mighty warriors and great builders, and both are concerned with the return of a great flood. The link between Nimrod and the Hebrew word for rebel is also cited, with some believing that Gilgamesh's name was deliberately omitted. Instead, he is just referred to as the rebel. However, as the stories of Nimrod's rebellion as retribution for God's flood came centuries after the original mention of Nimrod in Genesis, it is possible that inspiration for Nimrod's backstory came from oral traditions concerning Gilgamesh. Another claim that links Nimrod to Babylonian texts is that the tales of Nimrod inspired the Babylonian god Marduk. As Nimrod, NMRD, is related to the word Marad, MRD, it isn't too much of a stretch to connect the name to Marduk. Marduk was also portrayed as a hunter, warrior, and king, pointing to further similarities between the two figures. It seems that myth continues to follow the name, even today. Modern legend has it that Bugs Bunny, or Daffy Duck, was the first to turn the name Nimrod into an insult by using the moniker to describe Elmer Fudd. However, like with most other stories about Nimrod, nothing is proven, and no one has been able to identify the episode in which this supposed slur occurred. Perhaps the name Nimrod is destined to be unexplainably dragged through the mud. After all, there doesn't seem to be much supporting evidence for the move from someone described as a mighty warrior and hunter to a tyrannical king obsessed with defying God. When reviewing the myths concerning Nimrod, the only clear thing is that Nimrod is an enigmatic figure, equal parts evil king and mighty hero. He continues to capture people's attention to this day. So if anyone ever does call you a Nimrod, you can easily take it as a compliment. To learn more about Mesopotamian legends, check out our book, Mesopotamia, a captivating guide to ancient Mesopotamian history and civilizations, including the Sumerians and Sumerian mythology, Gilgamesh, Ur, Assyrians, Babylon, Hammurabi, and the Persian Empire. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free Mythology Bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description.
Okay. We're going to get into some things, first of all, right? If you are a reader of Owaski, you know it is during the 23rd arc cycle that Abram walked into Egypt. But are you aware it is during a 4-year span that he actually walked in? It is from 3953 BC to 3949 BC. And I want to show y'all that at that time, Abram was already a grown man when he had walked into Egypt with the tribes that would be called Israel, with the tribes of Zerl and Iz. Also, he walked in with the Lycians, right? He walked in to a land that wasn't even at its time called Egypt in 3953 BC. It isn't till roughly 3200 or so, 3300 before the time of the reign of Narmer, where we get the name first mentioned, Egypt, roughly around 3200 BC, but for sure by 3150 in Narmer and the Palette and the conquering of Upper and Lower Egypt, but since roughly 3300 BC. But for 600 years prior to that is when your Israelites or your tribes of Earl and Zid and Zerl, your tribes of Zerl and Iz walk into with the Lycians, right? Kit and kin with the Israelites, right? Who are the Lycians? The Lycians are commonly known as shepherd kings, or the Hyksos, also called the Hekakasu. But these are your Hyksos. Your Hyksos are the shepherd kings and are blood kin with the Israelites who walked into Egypt with Abram. Let me roll this little. You did what I'm talking about. This little thing going on real quick. And we're going to get the building. Right? We want to show y'all during the Ark of Dan, 3953 BC, this lasted 4 years. He was 40 years old at the time. Same thing happened to Moses. Right? He saved Jehovah people by walking them into Egypt. Moses saved them by walking them out of Egypt. And this is another great secret. Both of them walked the same way and direction. When they came into Egypt, they walked west into Egypt. They migrated west into Egypt. When Moses left Egypt and they migrated out of Egypt for religion's sake, for God's sake, they went west. Huh? Okay. Let's look at it real quick. Oh, my bad. Pressed on the wrong one. I'm gonna share my screen with you real quick to show you the time. I know this is about Nimrod, but we gotta shed light on when a thing is happening. You know what I mean? This is the dope part of a WASPy. It teaches you the timetables of prophecy, right? This is how you tell real time, right? This is how time is told. Time is cyclical, right? Now, listen. This is the book of the wars. 4 and 9. All right. Now, during the dawn of Dan, 4 Etherian gods had sojourned on the earth, walking with 4 mortals, namely with Poe of Japheth, Abram of Edabenia, also the Middle East and Africa, Brahma of ancient Vindu, and Iwata of Gautama or America. And the 4 gods preached through these 4 men, explaining Jehovah and his kingdoms. And the angels of Jehovah inspired many followers to them. For 4 years, these gods dwelt on the earth and then ascended into the upper regions. Jehovah spoke to God concerning the matter, saying, for 4 years I bestowed what? My light in person. So the same thing that was happening to the Israelites when they was leaving captivity or leaving out of Egypt is the same thing, is the covenant. And it's the same thing that happened to Moses. And then when they was walking in, because what happened? For 4 years, I bestowed my light in person on the corporeal earth. And then I departed. For it is well that men and angels learn to be self-raising. For which reason I left 4 substitute lords of heaven on the earth with my 4 peoples whom I delivered. Right? And I command these, my substitutes, to abide upon the earth for 40 years in order to indulge my chosen in surety in my creations founded in corporeal and physicality. Right? And so for the 40 years of their lives, they're grown up to be good men. This is Poe, Iwata, Brahma, and Abram, right? And then they go raise their people up and lead their people out of bondage. And in Japheth, they congregate together but stay in one place. In India, Shem, you did what I'm talking about, like to stay in one place. So Brahma, who is a contemporary of Abram, you did what I'm talking about. They stayed in one place, becoming the people we know as Veda, and creating the Vedic language. Moses, right, gathered the people of who is from Persia, right, gathered the people of Persia and of Ham and delivered those people, and those people in time became to be called the Israelites. You dig what I'm saying? So we find here in chapter 9 that this was taking place during the dawn of Dan. You dig what I'm talking about? That this is all taking place during the dawn of Dan. Which is the 4-year period given to migration during the 23rd arc cycle after the creation of man, or from 3953 BC to 3949 BC, right? That's that 4 years. But let's get into some other stuff real quick. Awashbi clearing up things as it always do. You dig what I'm talking about? We want to get into real quick Nimrod, right? In the book of Joshua, right? Because they say it's only a couple things, but they forget about the book of Joshua, where Nimrod is broken down heavenly. You know what I mean? They get into them, but we're going to bring out some stuff that they don't know. Right? Let me share the screen. Hold on. Right. It's your boy Nimrod. Nimrod, a cold dude, man. These are some evil people, man. Man, these dudes are something different, man. Something different. You know, we got a text, right? The lost book of King Og, reportedly from the vaults of the Vatican and from a Vatican priest, right? A Catholic priest who is now today a faithist. We got a Catholic priest who turned faithist, but before he got out of Catholicism, he released this book, The Lost Books of King Og, Enoch, and the Giants, and the 3 books of antiquity. And he also let out another book called The Lost Books of Lamech of Cain. Because remember, there's Enoch, Enosh, Methuselah. You dig what I'm talking about? You know. Let's get into this real quick.
The son of Ham, the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare a son, and they called his name Nimrod, saying, At that time the sons of men again began to rebel and transgress against God. And the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age. And the garments of skin which God made for Adam and his wife, when they went out of the garden, were given to Cush. For after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. And when Enoch was taken up to God, he gave them to Methuselah his son. And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark. And they were with him until he went out of the ark. And in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah, his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers. And when Ham begat his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret. And they were with Cush many days. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and God gave him might and strength. And he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Yea, he was a mighty hunter in the field. And he hunted the animals, and he built altars. And he offered upon them the animals before the Lord. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from amongst his brethren, and he fought the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about. And the Lord delivered all the enemies of his brethren in his hands, and God prospered him from time to time in his battles.
We're going to learn about some of these wars.
Therefore it became current in those days, when a man ushered forth those that he had trained up for battle, he would say to them, like God did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the earth, and who succeeded in the battles that prevailed against his brethren, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies, so may God strengthen us and deliver us this day. And when Nimrod was 40 years old, At that time there was a war between his brethren and the children of Japheth, so that they were in the power of their enemies. And Nimrod went forth at that time, and he assembled all the sons of Cush and their families, about 460 men, and he hired also from some of his friends and acquaintances about 80 men, and he gave them their hire, and he went with them to the battle. And when he was on the road, Nimrod strengthened the hearts of the people that went with him. And he said to them, "Do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please." And all the men that went were about 500. And they fought against their enemies, and they destroyed them, and subdued them. And Nimrod placed standing officers over them in their respective places. And he took some of their children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brethren. And Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. And when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle, after having conquered his enemies, all his brethren, together with those who knew him before, assembled to make him king over them. And they placed the regal crown upon his head. And he set over his subjects and people, princes, judges, and rulers, as is the custom amongst kings. And he placed Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of his host, and he dignified him and elevated him above all his princes. And whilst he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies around, he advised with his counselors to build a city for his palace, and they did so. And they found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large and extensive city. And Nimrod called the name of the city that he built Shinar, for the Lord had vehemently shaken his enemies and destroyed them. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them, and he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their Lord and King. And they all dwelt with him in the city of Shinar, and Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. And all the earth was of one tongue, and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord, and he was more wicked than all the men that were before him, from the days of the flood until those days. And he made gods of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against the Lord, and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And Mardon his son was more wicked than his father. And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon the son of Nimrod would say concerning him, "From the wicked go forth wickedness." Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, "From the wicked goeth forth wickedness." And it was current in the words of men from that time to this. And Terah, the son of Nahor, prince of Nimrod's host, was in those days very great in the sight of the king and his subjects. And the king and princes loved him, and they elevated him very high. And Terah took a wife, and her name was Amphelo, the daughter of Cornebo. And
Nimrod lived,
and
existed, and was king before the time of Abram's father.
And Terah called the name of his son that was born to him Abram, because the king had raised him in those days, and dignified him above all his princes that were with him. End of chapter 7. Chapter 8 of the book of Jasher. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Yeah, this is in the public domain, man. It's just fair use.
And it was in the night that Abram was born, that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conjurers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night.
So they're talking about a time. This is the greatness of Owaspy, right? They're talking about a time on the night of Moses's birth. So we know in the year 3953 BC, he was 40. So that means, right? And he ended his journey at 44, right? So that means he was born 40 years before 3953 BC. So Abram was born 3993 BC. This is what Bible can't do. You dig what I'm talking about? Bible can't put it on a timeline and make it make sense. You dig what I'm talking about? It's through a WASP-y, we really get in these revelations. But they got jewels, little jewels dropped in the Bible. Even though the Bible is not of the Creator, nor written by the Creator or his high-raised angels, right? That doesn't dumb down the miracles in the book nonetheless. And things of the Creator were written about even by the pen of the lying scribes, right? Even though it's not from the Creator or from any of his prophets or from any of the high-raised gods, nonetheless, things of the Creator were written about in the Bible, and this is a jewel. So on the night of Moses' birth, right, 3993 BC, this is exactly when we're talking about. This story takes place. Check it out.
And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes toward heaven that night to look at the stars. And they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east. And
hold on, let's get back. Let's show it. Let's show it real quick. We just want to show it. Right? Stop sharing. Let me go back, share this other screen with you real quick. Right? Just want to show this other screen where we at, right? 3953. So we're actually in the 22nd arc cycle, the Ark of Lu, with Fergopity, the Orion chief, right? We 40 years before this date. So we in right here, 3993 BC in the 22nd arc cycle. Roughly 8,900 years, 5,800 to 5840 years ago. 5,800 years ago is the time Abram was born. You dig what I'm talking about? 3953 BC. Boom. Let's clear it. Let's go ahead. Stop sharing that. Get back to this right here. Share on the screen. Big fat split thing. Big fat split. Blowing on some of this Gary Payton. You know what I mean? What y'all blowing on tonight? What y'all blowing on tonight? Yeah, I'm talking about. Let's get back to this.
Ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And all the wise men of the king and his conjurers were astonished at the sight. And the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import. And they said to each other, "This only betokens the child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands." And the wise men and conjurers went home that night. And in the morning all these wise men and conjurers rose up early, and assembled in an appointed house. And they spoke and said to each other, "Behold, the sight that we saw last night is hidden from the king. It has not been made known to him. And should this thing get known to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, 'Why have you concealed this matter from me?' And then we shall all suffer death. Therefore let us go and tell the king the sight which we saw, and the interpretation thereof, and we shall then remain clear." And they did so, and they all went to the king and bowed down to him to the ground, and they said, "May the king live, may the king live. We heard that a son was born to Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of thy host, and we yesternight came to his house, and we ate and drank and rejoiced with him that night. And when thy servants went out from the house of Terah to go to our respective homes to abide there for the night, we lifted up our eyes to heaven and saw a great star coming from the east. And the same star ran with great speed, and swallowed up 4 great stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And thy servants were astonished at the sight which we saw, and were greatly terrified. And we made our judgment upon the sight, and knew by our wisdom the proper interpretation thereof, that this thing applies to the child that is born to Terah, who will grow up and multiply greatly and become powerful, and kill all the kings of the earth, and inherit all their lands, he and his seed forever. And now, our Lord and King, behold, we have truly acquainted thee with what we have seen according to this child. If it seemeth good to the king to give his father value for this child, we will slay him before he shall grow up and increase in the land, and his evil increase against us, that we and our children perish through his evil. And the king heard their words, and they seemed good in his sight. And he sent and called for Terah, and Terah came before the king. And the king said to Terah, I have been told that a son was yesternight born to thee, and after this manner was observed in the heavens at his birth. And now therefore give me the child, that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us, and I will give thee for his value thy house full of silver and gold. And Terah answered the king and said to him, My lord and king, I have heard thy words, and thy servant shall do all that his king desireth. But my lord and king, I will tell thee what happened to me yesternight, that I may see what advice the king will give his servant, and then I will answer the king upon what he has just spoken. And the king said, Speak. And Terah said to the king, Aon, son of Mored, came to me yesternight, saying, Give unto me the great and beautiful horse that the king gave thee, and I will give thee silver and gold, and straw and provender for its value. And I said to him, Wait till I see the king concerning thy words, and behold, whatever the king saith, that will I do. And now, my lord and king, behold, I have made this thing known to thee, and the advice which my king will give unto his servant, that will I follow. And the king heard the words of Terah, and his anger was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool. And the king answered Terah, and he said to him, Art thou so silly, ignorant, or deficient in understanding to do this thing, to give thy beautiful horse for silver and gold, or even for straw and provender? Art thou so short of silver and gold that thou shouldest do this thing, because thou canst not obtain straw and provender to feed thy horse? And what is silver and gold to thee, or straw and provender, that thou shouldest give away that fine horse which I gave thee, like which there is none to be had on the whole earth? And the king left off speaking, and Terah answered the king, saying, Like unto this has the king spoken to his servant. I beseech thee, my lord and king, what is this which thou didst say unto me, saying, Give thy son, that we may slay him, and I will give thee silver and gold for his value? What shall I do with silver and gold after the death of my son? Who shall inherit me? Surely then at my death the silver and gold will return to my king who gave it. And when the king heard the words of Terah and the parable which he brought concerning the king, it grieved him greatly, and he was vexed at this thing, and his anger burned within him. And Terah saw that the anger of the king was kindled against him, and he answered the king, saying, All that I have is in the king's power. Whatever the king desireth to do to his servant, let him do. Yea, even my son, he is in the king's power, without value in exchange, he and his 2 brothers that are older than he. And the king said to Terah, No, but I will purchase thy younger son for a price. And Terah answered the king, saying, I beseech thee, my lord and king, to let thy servant speak a word before thee, and let the king hear the word of his servant. And Terah said, Let my king give me 3 days' time till I consider this matter within myself, and consult with my family concerning the words of my king. And he pressed the king greatly to agree to this. And the king hearkened to Terah, and he did so, and he gave him 3 days' time. And Terah went out from the king's presence, and he came home to his family, and spoke to them all the words of the king. And the people were greatly afraid. And it was in the 3rd day that the king sent to Terah, saying, Send me thy son for a price, as I spoke to thee. And shouldst thou not do this, I will send and slay all thou hast in thy house, so that thou shalt not even have a dog remaining. And Terah hastened, as the thing was urgent, from the king, and he took a child from one of his servants, which his handmaid had borne to him that day, and Terah brought the child to the king and received value for him. And the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah, and with all his might dashed his head to the ground, for he thought it had been Abram. And this was concealed from him from that day, and it was forgotten by the king, as it was the will of the providence not to suffer Abram's death.
Look how he
And
did
Terah
the baby,
took
man.
Abram
That's
his son
called.
secretly, together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And the Lord was with Abram in the cave, and he grew up. And Abram was in the cave 10 years, and the king and his princes, soothsayers and sages, thought that the king had killed Abram. End of chapter 8. Chapter 9 of the book of Jasher. And Haran.
Now, I also want to, this also leads into another part of history. You dig what I'm talking about? Let me stop sharing this for a second. This gets back into another part of history that we get really remembered through Vedic history, yes, but really comes down to us through Greek history called the Titanomachy, or the 100,000 Giant War. You dig what I'm talking about? In the last book written by the hands of the Raphaim, we find that it is a war between Og and Nimrod. Okay. We find that out also. But like I said, you dig what I'm talking about. We're not here to talk about what we already know. We're gonna talk about what we don't know. You dig what I'm talking about? This is a book very shocking. If you have weak ears, your stomach turns easily, well, you don't want to listen to Og. Og is a foul mouth, evil cat, but one thing he do, he will tell the truth in his hatred. He gonna tell what happened. And this is from the vaults of the Vatican. This is why you've never heard about the lost books of King Og, the Og of Bashan. You dig what I'm talking about? Because these books, even during the time of Constantine, 326, Council of Nicaea, were relegated as pagan and against Christianity. So the truth of these books, like the Book of the Giants and all that, is held back and have been held in the vaults of the Vatican. But we find that a Christian Catholic priest, a priest of the Vatican, one John Dimon, found the text. You dig what I'm talking about? Through some people who heard about a text and then searched it out, found it, and he was able to okay its release. And what he released is shocking. First of all, it solidifies the existence of the Nephilim, but it also solidifies the existence of Raphaim. And no, these are not angels. These are men. And on top of that, they are giant men. What we know in Owaspy as the Ahuan race. Massive men. Twice the standing of a normal man. And Og was bigger than that. Og was a big one. You know what I mean? Standing roughly about 13 to 14 feet tall. Nimrod, just about the same. Even Abram, who was of a giant stock, but he's not Raphaim. You dig what I'm talking about? He's not Raphaim. They're both Ahuan, but they're of the older stock. You dig what I'm talking about? And are even larger than men like Abram, who Abram was easily a 12-foot man. But Nimrod and them are bigger than them. You dig what I'm talking about? But let's get into the lost books of King Og. This is chapter 1. King Og lets his hatred of Nimrod be known. Right? Now, it's going to reveal that there are 2 writers. Right? One of these is called Anzal, the slayer of the smaller cells. Smaller cells are human beings like me and you. Right? And these are 13, 14, 15 foot men regularly. You dig what I'm talking about? So they are massive, way bigger than us. You dig what I'm saying? And they were cannibalistic. This cut of them was. Now dig this. Chapter 1, King Og lets his hatred of Nimrod be known. These are the last and only words spoken by Og, the Raphaim, as told to Anzal, the slayer of the smaller cells, before Baal. Baal of the earth, who keeps our gardens fertile. Baal of the earth, who guided Og's completed loin wrath from when the old world monsters stood until the time Baal of the earth, who guided Og's complete loin wrath from when the old world monsters stood, right, until after the time of the great waters. So what we know is the time of the great waters was 22,553 BC. Right? So after that, the floods went down that year. So they're talking about what we also have deciphered as the time of Lamech, or the 770-year period from the end of the Ark of Neph, in the 107 years of the Ark of Neph, in the last 600 years before the flood. It is in that time, 22,553 BC, you know dinosaurs is on the planet. But they gonna tell you, let Og tell you himself. You dig what I'm talking about? He's saying that there are monsters on Earth at this time. Massive dinosaurs, vicious shit. You know what I mean? And they stood until after the time of the great waters. But I thought everybody died except Noah and 7 other people. Baal, who will reverse the unspoken mistake, so something happened. The loose-bowed false priest led mighty Og, Nimrod, and all the Raphaim. So notice that Og and Nimrod and their people are all Raphaim. but they're going to start calling Og a Nephilim because he does a thing. He, what they call is falls, or is fallen, or is cut away. Watch what Nimrod does that Og's people don't do. Why they call them Nephilim? They start calling the certain Raphaim Nephilim. So that's a great secret right there, that all Nephilim are Raphaim. We ain't even got past the first paragraph. The loose-balled false priest led mighty Og, Nimrod, and all the Raphaim to the unspoken mistake, that embarrassing which cannot be named, that embarrassing thing which cannot be named or fixed until Baal intervenes. The stupid, unspoken mistake stains us all to the inner loins. The mistake in the fields that was the false, loose-bowed Raphaim priest of Baal led us to perverting us all. I, the true Raphaim priest of Baal, tore out the jellies of their eyes and pulled the stupid skulls off of those false Raphaim priests of complete loin. You're going to notice that they talking about a certain thing done, which is circumcision, right? That separates Nephilim from Raphaim. All of them are Raphaim, right? But the Raphaim who take up on circumcision are now called Nephilim. Huh? Not no angel, just a terrible man. Watch this. We spilled their worm-filled stomachs and yellowing wet droppings out on the fields with bare hands. Listen. With bare hands, we twisted and tore them free. They so big, they just twisting men and snapping them in. Bah! Can you imagine these massive giant men? 15 feet tall and proportionate. Not no wobbly built. Oh, no. I'm talking about a basketball hoop with a man standing on top of the basketball hoop. Pick you up, and he's stupid strong. Just pull you apart at your waist to where your guts just out your butt. Oh my God. This is what he explained. We spilled the worm-filled stomachs and yellowing wet droppings out on the field with bare hands. We twisted and tore them free. How strong you got to be. Nimrod also participated. Notice they together. Nimrod also participated, sacrificing the false Nephilim priests of incomplete loin and piling their plucked, circumcised sexual organs atop each other, and sparked the useless meat with fire and disgraced them. Baal of the earth was pleased. Look at your boy Baal, man. Heathen God, man. He just got, and he goes on to do the same thing when he gains inspiration over the Israelites. Under the name El Elonai, under the name El Elyon, under the name Elohim. He usurped that name too. Lord and God. He usurped them names too. You dig what I'm talking about? It is Baal. You dig what I'm talking about? Who gained inspiration and get the Israelites to start sacrificing not only to him, and they was also sacrificing to him under different names too. So not only did they sacrifice to Baal. Oh shoot, my chat just came on. Yo, I didn't even see none of y'all there. You dig what I'm talking about? My chat just clicked in. Shout to Key-La. Child of One in the house. Shebrew in the house. Roger Washington in the house. Selah Shalom. Peace to the righteous gods. Bronze Yog in the house. You dig what I'm talking about? We got everybody up in here. Audrey Renee, Shalom. The King. Peace to the God. Malachi Mitnaka B. I ain't gonna holler out Malachi. Nam know the time. You know what I'm talking about? Nam know the time. I ain't gonna holler out that boy Maccabee. I'm lying. That's my dog. Bless up. Clip up. Tell him source up or shut up, man. Battle with the holy books, man. Anybody want to come out here? You think you got it? Okay. Well, let your book speak for itself. Let your God speak for itself. We got a place for it. No egos, no nothing tied up into it. You dig what I'm talking about? We just let the gods in the book speak for themselves. And you make the choice. Who has the better light? Battle with the holy books. But right here, right now, this Jehovah Chronicles. This your boy Cosmirian. You dig what I'm talking about? We gonna get back to it, right? This is the lost books of King Og. You dig what I'm talking about? Hey, Sherlyn. Hey, Shabir. You dig what I'm talking about? You dig what I'm saying? Listen to this, right? Let's get back to it. The blackened blood of both complete and incomplete loined deceivers. Now they're talking about the priests of the Nephilim and the priests of the Raphaim. The Raphaim come from Og group. The Nephilim come from Nimrod group. We also gonna go, there's a part in here that explains a thing that is hinted at, but not really explained, that Nimrod is not his real name. Just is what he's called for his action. Remember, the victor writes history, right? Og was the last of the Raphaim. But was he the last of the Nephilim? Another question, too, we got to get into. Right? The blackened blood of both complete and incompletely loined deceivers ran thick over the grass. We cut the bodies into pieces and laid them upon the wood and poured 4 barrels of oil upon the flesh. Then the fire of Baal of the sun fell and consumed the sacrifice of the false priest. They sacrificed the priest for telling them to do a thing that hasn't even been explained, right? That is going to, in time, jeopardize their ability to reproduce. They made a mistake. They made a mistake, right? Start messing with genetics and doing other things, because remember, in some of the ancient stories, they talk about that the giant men would like to keep their women. What is the book? Is it the book of Ogius? Well, anyways, right, where they like to keep their women shape and trim, right? This is what's going to go on and explain it here. The Ahuans like to keep their women shape and trim and do anything they wanted to do to any other women. Have children with them, and you'll see how even Nimrod and Og were brought together in these pan-craze type sex things, to where they didn't even know who each other parents was. It didn't matter. Whoever got pregnant, there it is. You dig what I'm saying? So it gets weird, man. Listen, right? The dark smoke of the cursed Rephaim flesh smoldered, sacrifice burned for blank ball of the earth, and the promise of fertility. Remember, they did a thing. they had their wives drink the drinks to keep their bodies straight, like take what do you call it, birth control. They had their wives take birth control, and they would, so they didn't have babies, but they have babies with any other thing. You dig what I'm talking about? But they wives, they wanted her to be looking good, so they would give them a thing that kept them from keeping birth, but then it start affecting them genetically. But you'll go on to see. We encourage the vermin-like smaller cells. They so big, right? They call us regular men smaller cells. Hold on. Of both kingdoms, both complete and incomplete loin, present at the sacrifice. So there's people on the earth at this time who are already circumcised, right? Both complete and incomplete loin, present at the sacrifice to feast. Listen, to feast upon the corrupted flesh of the Raphaim bodies. These are men they're eating. And unnatural curse now rests upon my skull and spirit until the day of the stars, until the day of the end of the stars. We both, Og and Nimrod, encourage this new abomination, Nimrod and I, Og, in our quest for the unnatural. These was just naturally evil niggas. You dig what I'm talking about? Some rough and tough characters, bro. These dudes was no joke. You dig what I'm talking about? And I keep remembering you. I want you to just mark in your head, they are regularly 12 to 15 feet tall. Put together, just whoop your ass niggas. So imagine a nigga who about regularly today about, let's just say, 6'6" or 6'7". This is a big dude. Double him to where he's 13 feet and put him all together like you would the perfect Michelangelo. But make him 15 feet tall and with the appropriate weight. So he's 1,500 pounds moving. He looks all muscly and he's stupid fat. Yo, the Ahuans was something different. Big giant men. And because they had more of the earth DNA and yet still a little more of the angelic DNA, their minds were in a state to where the ions would be, they were readily open. For instance, what they would call that today is they were born with their third eyes open. So to get a picture of the Ahuan mind, different from the Ayin mind, where it was pure, you could talk, the angels came to you and all that stuff. These ones, because of the corrupted way they lived, the dark spirits could just take them over. Period. Just didn't matter what they did. The spirits could literally, you just take them over. Watch this. They got, what did they say? They got the smaller cells of both kingdoms, both complete and incomplete loin, present at the sacrifice to feast upon the corrupted flesh of the Raphaim bodies. And so this is what they're doing. They killed the Raphaim priests for making them, Raphaim and Nephilim priests, for making them do this thing, right? That is now jeopardizing them, right? They throw oil on their bodies, roast these niggas, and now the Nephilim eat them anyway. The Nephilim and Raphaim eat men, they're cannibals anyway. But now they're making the smaller cells eat Nephilim too. Watch this. During the time of the office, during the time of the sacrifice of the loose-bowed fecal priest Og, governed my half of the great land of, this is Shinar, of the great land, and Nimrod his. I, Og continually marveled over the tranquil peace between our war tribes. Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom enforced circumcision, while Og's did not, showing why he's Nephilim is because he's circumcised. Why Og and his people is just plain Raphaim. The Nephilim are just plain Raphaim, just with circumcision. Just been circumcised. One from Og, one from Nimrod. Right? That's the only thing to separate the Nephilim from the Raphaim. Circumcision. Belief. Right? He said, Og said, I continually marveled over the tranquil peace between our war tribes. Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom enforced circumcision, while Og's did not. In that season, the kingdom of Og formed a pact of brotherhood with all remaining Raphaim tribes. Lands, lands. The pact introduced the vermin-like smaller cells, me and you, to Baal worship. In the pact, I called the mighty hunter Nimrod blood of my own lineage. Now, with the death of all the remaining Raphaim, upon Nimrod's dry fecal hands, I no longer honor the cowardly half-loin Nephilim hunter called Nimrod. So look, even Og, Nimrod was so great that even Og marveled at this dude. You dig what I'm talking about? And you got to understand how corrupt and evil these people is. So the more that you could fight, the more that you did hurt, the more that you did kill, the more that you did eat, the more that you did defile was a good thing in their eyes. Remember, these are the people before the flood. Right? He said, Og said, Nimrod was the blood of my own lineage now. With the death of all the remaining Raphaim on his dry fecal hands, I no longer honored the cowardly half-loin Nephilim hunter called Nimrod. Only a half-loin Nephilim coward murders a child. These are the evilest people on earth. And we got Israelites today that'll tell you straight up out their mouth that they'll murder a child right now if they had a dream from their so-called God. I heard grown men say it out their mouth with glee. Didn't even think about it. But look, we got the evilest people that ever walked the face of the earth. A cannibal, massive man who did what he wanted. Because you couldn't do nothing about it. You dig what I'm talking about? Let's get back to it. Only a half-loin Nephilim coward murders a child. Only a half-loin Israelite fake Jew-ass nigga would murder a child. For this offense and more, I regularly listen to how much he hates this man now. He said, for this offense, for killing this child, I regularly urinated upon his head, fecal bones and corpse, until the meat and the offal peeled away. That's the right, the bones and the gut. Right? And foul peeled away. He pissed on him, shit on him. Till the end of my days, I will take a daily fecal journey to choke his Nephilim corpse. So he just got him in a toilet somewhere. Listen to what's going on. He got him in a toilet, and he get up every morning and he make sure he pee on him and take a dump on this dude every day. He hate him that much he won't bury him, right? But look how much he admired him beforehand. Now watch, right? Let's get it out of old mouth itself. Don't listen to what Cosmon say. Of all of the warlike hatred of which volcanoes are formed, I hold the most for the disrespected skeletal remains of the Nephilim hunter Nimrod, who led his kingdom in the loin weakening, member carving practice of circumcision. Right? I will tell tales of how the Nephilim, vomit-soaked, circumcised Nimrod offended all of the Raphaim, how in his stupidity half-loin Nimrod defiled Baal, thus causing Baal of the earth to guide my unforgiving hands after war to his death. Will this and other stories not be told to Anak? Ooh, Anak, the scribe of King Og, another giant rocking with another giant. So it would make sense that Nimrod is a giant too. Gary Play blowing crazy out here, man. You know what is good to kind of go out a little bit. That thing blowing crazy. Right? He said, man, of the hatred, of the stuff that it takes to make a volcano, I hate you that much. He said, I got that type of hatred for you. Right? And look, it's Anak, but something happens to Anak, because remember, in the beginning of the book, which probably was told after the events, right? He is talking to Anzal. So, but it's Anak writing first, right? So we can tell that the beginning was wrote last, because it happens after the events, right? That was told to his original scribe, Anak. Now, don't it always say, or haven't you heard the biblical theory that Anak, which means long neck? You dig what I'm talking about? If Anak was a scribe and he was a giant, that he would have a long neck that could lean down while he wrote. Just something to think on. You dig what I'm talking about? Just something to think on real quick. Watch this. Watch this. One day, I, Og, will finish my last meal and push my crumb plate away and lay down and die. My hatred will cease, but the half-loin name of Nimrod will forever mean stupid. So it is Og who names him Nimrod. Watch this. Nimrod's name shall mean the Nephilim fecalness of mind and the mangled of loin. He alone carries all of the disgrace of the Raphaim. All who circumcise their members claim allegiance to Nimrod. Nimrod is the circumcised Nephilim who killed us all. Oh, that I could shatter his teeth in his mouth again and break the teeth of his half-loin Nephilim sons, Jotun. So they saying that the Jotun, who we know are also giants too, of Northern Europe, though. There is also, it goes on to say, some new history was brought out by the boy Curdy Mayo that the Ur of the Chaldees, it's actually backwards. Ur is in Ireland. And Og is actually down in Babylon and all to the area where they say he in Bashan and all this is. Right? But they could be in the north and south of the Middle East. But I would like to believe, and since they found the tunnel that they're going to be speaking about in here, Nimrod drilled a tunnel into a tunnel into Europe. They found it. And it extends all the way from Ireland and crosses over into Turkey. You dig what I'm talking about? So what they're saying is one part of Shinar extends into Europe and Helix. And the other part is in what we would call Northern Arabia or the Middle East. From Babylon, basically to Rome or even further. You dig what I'm talking about? All the way up to Ireland, so they say. Right? But we know Jotun of the Odin fame, right? Odin also is Baal. And I gotta bring this false gods list out, man. So when you hear these names, you know who you talking about. Odin is Baal. He's also Cernunnos. The sons of Odin, the precursors to even Odin, are the Jotun giants, but they always give praise to Odin. Odin is Baal. But they telling you here that the Jotun, the blue giants that they always talk about in mythology, from Europe, the cold, the ice giants, Jotun, right, are sons of Nimrod. He look at Og say, I wish I could shatter his teeth in Nimrod's mouth again and break the teeth of his half-loin Nephilim sons, Jotun, and the satisfaction of killing Nimrod's sons, whose names will not be mentioned, to blot them from the earth. First, before I can tell the story, it should be told how shrewd Nimrod the hunter was. What a good steward of his land he was. How much so I, Og, envied Nimrod as a warrior. How much so I, Og, envied Nimrod as a ruler. Now he's being honest. He's saying, man, I envy this dude. You dig what I'm talking about? Everybody who talking about Nimrod. I'm really that guy, but everybody talking about Nimrod. You dig what I'm talking about? This Nas and Jay. You dig what I'm talking about? How much so I envied Nimrod as he forced, listen, the smaller cells build the throne room of Bala. I, did not envy the circumcision or any of the lessening of the member that Nimrod chose for his Nephilim kingdom. Nimrod's land used the smaller cells for food in secret. He traded them to the kingdom of Og for labor in the open. Nimrod also forced the male Nephilim and the male smaller cells of his kingdom to carve their loins with the knife of circumcision. Consumption of the smaller cells in secret is the true mystery that Nimrod knew in Babylon governance. Ooh. They call it secret Babylon. He said that's the mystery. Remember they call it mystery Babylon? Nimrod, the dung smeared of mind and loin, raised the smaller cells as secret food meat. Nimrod and the Nephilim, with their incomplete member who deceived and concealed his consumption of the adult male smaller cells. Damn, so he was just eating people. But think about it. You got a whole race of people eating. They massive. They must eat a bunch of food daily. You dig what I'm talking about? And to these beastly niggas, any meat is just as good as the other. You dig what I'm talking about? So they got to eating. Og would just eat them out for real. They knew Og wasn't playing. Listen, I'm gonna eat you, nigga. You dig what I'm talking about? I'm gonna hit you with this A1 sauce. Okay. At the end of the great battles with the unspeakable large-scale beast of Og, food in the kingdom of Og was scarce. The Raphaim brothers of animal husbandry, the great beast farmers and tamers, Listen, this is trippy right here. Watch this. I gotta run it back one more time. At the end of the great battles with the unspeakable, large-scaled beast of Og, food in the kingdom of Og was scarce. The Raphaim brothers of animal husbandry, right? So they brothers, the great beast farmers and tamers, Gog and Magog, had both turned their gray eyes to the magnificent Leviathan and other beasts of the sea for meat. It says, the beast of Og, we fed upon the forgotten gods of a lesser time. Huh? Why were they calling them gods of a lesser time? And we see what's going on with them is happening in a time that really precedes them, right? What are they talking about? And what time? That's explained in the book of Lamech in the 770-year span before the time of Og. Right? We talking about from 23,053, 100 years, right? 500 years down from that time, 23,053 down to 22,553 BC. This is the time Og and Nimrod is talking about. Watch me clear that up. Now watch this. We just found out Gog and Magog are shepherds, and they breed animals, and they animal tamers, and they even started eating Leviathan. In the book of Lamech of Cain, right? Lamech learned from the giant Raphaim Uval how to tame the Leviathan. And the Leviathan was doing a lot of killing for Lamech, who lived in the city of Enoch or Tiaknatlan in Mesoamerica today. Right? During that season, sparse of food, I, Og, found a large colony of smaller cells in my kingdom. How did he find them? Something was keeping him away that he couldn't see him. Could it have been the Alps? A colony of smaller cells riddled with Raphaim, evils such as murder and rape, as they enslaved and harmed each other. If it's Europe, it kind of makes sense that roughly 4,000 BC, the time we sort of know they're stepping on the scene, Owaspi say 45. 100 BC. You dig what I'm talking about? 4553 BC. During a lesser ice age too, and the dawn of a time and fallen nebula on the planet. Og say he finds some people in his area, and his area is what we would call Turkey and Europe, or Hellenic, or Hellas, or the Hellenic dynasties, right? The northern part of Africa going into Europe, encompassing Germany all the way to Spain, and up into the mountains, up into Rus, all the way to the Alps. You dig what I'm talking about? And back down, bordering the Caucasus and Turkey, and what would be modern day Georgia, or the Ashkenaz, and even Syria, going that way. You dig what I'm talking about? Anyways, right? He said he found a colony of smaller cells riddled with Raphaim evils. What are Raphaim evils? Murder and rape. So they was doing each other dirty all back there, all by themselves, without the Raphaim. He said the powerful kingdom of Og was not deceptive or crafty with the smaller cells as Nimrod was. Smaller self-adult males were struck down and eaten in the open. We got stories about this in Europe and in America. This going on. We chose not to hide our hunger from the smaller cells. I did not require the loin carving circumcision that Nimrod required in his land. The Nephilim priest of Baal, the Raphaim, priest of Baal, decreed all lands were not to feast upon the smaller self females. Smaller self females became pure priestesses, wives, and concubines of Baal, not to be known by any member. We taught the smaller cells not to kill or pain or rape. We taught the procreative value of the smaller self females. Nimrod and Og both taught the smaller cells Baal's truth during all times of peace and war. So we see that, first of all, Baal was the god of Hellas. Period. Where Og and them were, and Baal down in the Babylon, that is Hellas. So we already know by Owaspi that this is his rule. At the same time, Ashtaroth was ruling in Persia, and in Egypt, and in all continental Africa, you got Osir ruling at this time that they explain it. And because remember, they're talking about two different times. A time with Abram, and they're talking about this time before the flood. We're going to explain how they're talking about two different situations 18,000 years apart, right? Remember, this is a story that was written down, finished, then compiled, right? In the basement of the Vatican. Wow. Right? The Raphaim priest of Baal decreed the sacrifice of the tiny, worthless, smaller self children to undo the unspoken mistake. Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom and that of Raphaim, land of Og, sacrificed all smaller self children with effectual, fervent ritual, being of one mind and spirit, bleeding for Baal to undo the unspoken mistake. So they just murdering babies. The Raphaim must consider now themselves. The Raphaim must consider a return to the excreta of the beginning. Every day brings the extinction of the Raphaim species closer. Consider Baal when you have given birth to a child at 500 years. Whoa. Consider Baal again as each new star passes. It is Baal, our land fertile. It is Baal, ... again, that produce Raphaim offspring. It is Baal that we may cry out to and ask for extension. The smaller cells will birth the next Raphaim. Baal has spoken through the priestess. In blank death of the moon, in the death of the moon child, our bracelets, who is our bracelet for Baal. Under smaller cell, why he hate Nimrod so bad is because his wife Lesta gave birth to the last female Raphaim that had been around for a long time, and they was gonna try to, through breeding with this child, who they end up calling the moon child, they was gonna try to breed back the Raphaim race. They thought it was a good thing and a thing from God. You dig what I'm talking about? Baal. You dig what I'm talking about? They thought this was they're looking for a child, a female child, to rebirth the race. One happens. Nimrod tries to come take her and birth the nation through him. The baby ends up dying. Nimrod becomes Nimrod, or labeled stupid, and this is the source of the hate of King Og, right? Now, it got a part in here, man, where is spoken through the priest, right, of King Og, and it is the literal words of Baal being spoke. We had never heard Baal speak. You dig what I'm talking about? But I want y'all to hear something, man. How Baal sounds just like biblical God. Watch this. Scream to Baal of the earth, all Raphaim. Rejoice and scream and beg for the undoing of the unspoken mistake. Declare Baal's power aspects. Again, I say scream and rejoice. Be it war or contention. It is that Baal that keeps our fields fertile, who keeps the peoples of the land. Remind Baal of the earth of fertility in your blank. Remind Baal of the extension. Ascribe to Baal, all of you Raphaim. Ascribe to Baal the land's fertility and your physical strength. ... Smaller self children offerings, and come before. Grab your smaller self child offerings and come before Baal. Scream and bleed in the blank, the fertility. Award. Now, some of this stuff, right, when I say ... blank, that's because some words have been left out of the ancient text that has been converted now into English. Okay. So, some of this stuff wasn't kept in the best of shape, and it had been down there thousands of years. Who knew? Who knows? Right? Dig this, right? He say, the fertility awarded to us for our worship. So they sacrificing children, not their children. They're hard to come by because they can't breed at this time. You dig what I'm talking about? They are sacrificing children to Baal, also known as Molech, also as Shamash. He is also Asher. He is also the third iteration of Osiris. He is also the third. He is not Osiris. Aten. He is Aten. He is also Horus, Heru. He is also he is the third Zeus. He is Odin. He is Cernunnos. He is taken upon all. He's also Marduk. He has taken on all these names through different times. Because you got to remember, Baal was rocking 3,500 years. He was all in the Ark of Lu. He was already a lord, a true lord, working for the real creator. He then switched over to Anu Hasaj. The false Osiris called Chilemon. So this is even before that. Listen, man, this is amazing, right? Listen to Baal, Canaanite god, Baal himself, right? Tremble before the all-powerful Baal, before his established land of fertility that cannot be moved, before his altar, and bleed on the blank. We wait the extension as we scream, "Come, Lord Baal," in unison with our wounds. Extension. Baal of the earth will extend the Raphaim in his time. Not by our will, but by Baal's will can the extension take place. So they're trying to save themselves. You dig what I'm talking about? Because they priest and told them, you got to sacrifice babies, and blood, and Baal want babies, and he want blood. Sound like Baal. We wait, Baal. We will not falter, even if he does not deliver. They're duped. You dig what I'm talking about? No different than the biblical God today, right? Well, listen. The smaller self-prophetesses has prophesied the falling that applies to the land. This is Baal speaking. You know what I mean? We heard him in Owaspi, but this is Baal on his thing. This is how he kept all that. This is how he kept it going 30, almost 4,000 years. Of just being a false god. Let's just mark him at 3,500 BC. You dig what I'm talking about? He lasted through the 23rd and the 24th arc cycle. Well, no, he got stopped in 312 AD, Battle of Milvian Bridge. But that's over 4,000 years. That's 4,000 years. Baal was the man. You dig what I'm talking about? A stumped down gangster. You dig what I'm talking about? And this is how he kept control. Kept the people in total darkness. Warlike. You dig what I'm talking about? And then sent his angel ambassadors, the dark Druidian spirits of war, back to invest these people, bro. Watch this. Baal speaking. I am Baal, your God, who delivered you from Nimrod in the 100,000 giant war. Right? We're going to get into that too. Because what is he talking about? Hold on. Right? We get it down through Greek mythology, the Titanomachy, the war against the new gods and the old gods. We find that it's really Nimrod and King Og fighting. Man, this might even have to be a part 2, man, because this This is getting deep. Hold on. Wow. Look at Baal. Speaking through the priestesses, right? I am Baal, your God, who delivered you from Nimrod in the 100,000 giant war. I am Baal of the earth, who will provide the extension to the Raphaim. Did it? No. Because of this, you will bleed yourself before no other gods. I do not honor the circumcision. It is good for the Raphaim not to know the smaller cells. You will not cut your members for any of the other insect-sized gods that demand it. Creator said he put a mark on man for women to know who she could breed with and who she shouldn't breed with. And the circumcision was one of the ways. Right? So they hate everything good. Anything from the Creator, they hate. They said these are the evilest people that ever lived. And they thought it was abominable to kill a baby. Dig this, right? Baal don't care. Just like your biblical God don't care. Because at one point, Baal was your biblical God. He is the man of war. Dig this. You will not cut your members for any of the other insect-sized gods that demand it. May the destruction of my enemies buried in blank, their destruction until the end of time. Worship me, and I, Baal, will extend your blank of power and give you blank. Consider this. A time is coming when you will all worship Baal Haman, which is coming in storm. Every eye will see him, even those that practice circumcision. Let the enemies tremble and let the earth shake. The great Baal of the Raphaim stands above the insect-sized gods. Filth is in the land of his heritage. All will ascribe penance and worship. Blood sacrifice is fertility. I will empower ... Do not tire. Baal's power ... As you see the lush country, as your crops ... As Kaor the able and Farshin the palsied served as temple stewards, speaking through the smoke from the dark and sacrificial fire. The worship must frenzy and gash with knives and lances. Baal, your ... delivers the promised extension of Raphaim lineage. Proclaim the power of Baal on the fertile mountain. Continue, I will extend you. So we see Baal playing the role of a creator, right? Trying to play like he the creator. And telling the Raphaim he can extend them. But they had retrobreeded so much, and then finally using birth control tactics. You dig what I'm talking about? Like same thing with Roe versus Wade right now. Same thing with taking a birth control pill. This is basically what they invented. You dig what I'm talking about? And that is the unspoken secret, right? Okay, we're gonna get back into Nimrod real quick. We're gonna rock out for a minute. You dig what I'm talking about? Get you with some of that hot shit. It's the Jehovih Chronicles number 7. Nimrod. We're gonna keep it going down. Yeah, we're gonna keep it down. Come back, flip. Yeah. 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 Gotta give me a nice screen holder, man. And what I'm talking about. Got the background. Need to get that logo, that display name. Y'all know how to get that down, you know what I mean? Know how to make graphics and design, holla at your boy. How's mine in the house? Yeah. Hey, how's mine in the house? Yeah. Let's rock. Let me get a little more knock on it for you. Hey. About to get into some more of this Nimrod. Man, real interesting stuff. When do you start seeing biblical equivalencies? 100,000 giant war. You might even have to back on the whole another segment on that. Economics. Spoken about in the Vedic. The Ramayana. Mahabharata. Yeah. Even mentioned by the ancient Greek writers. Egyptian tales of the gods fighting. You know what I mean? But let's get back to it, right? Let's get back to it, right? Now, for time's sake, you did what I'm talking about, and we'll get back into this probably too. We're gonna have to probably break this down in the segments, y'all. You did what I'm talking about, but right now we're gonna go into proving that Nephilim and Raphaim are the same thing. We're gonna talk about Nimrod, right? And his circumcision. You dig what I'm talking about? We're going to get into Og and his background. You dig what I'm talking about? And talk about this mighty hunter upon the earth. You dig what I'm talking about? Og may have also been one of the earliest and greatest fighters and warriors and men of law. You dig what I'm talking about? That is spoken about. Probably there are people who say he is Rama. That Nimrod is Rama, and that the city of Roma got its name Rome, got its name from him. Meaning of power. You know what I mean? So there's stories that also say, yeah, that Nimrod is Rama. You know what I mean? Roll me up. Nice fat Joe Willie. Did what I'm talking about. Splipperting. Got to be, you know, the hydrin. You got to have it all natural. You dig what I'm talking about? Every now and then, you know what I mean? You thought it, you know what I mean? You know how we grew up. Philly blunting it up. You dig what I'm talking about? They gonna hate on us for whatever you do. So do the best at it. While we at it, we gonna smoke these Zazas. We ain't gonna go half-ass on my weed. You know what I mean? Y'all do y'all. You know what I mean? Because if it's some Druidian spirits around me that like to smoke weed, we gonna raise them up too. You gonna get this light from wherever it come from. We just share information and then tie it in with what we know as truth. to clear up what we know as mythology and tales. But let's get into the tale. You did what I'm talking about of Nimrod and his circumcision, right? In the time before the unspoken mistake, when Og's land heralded Nimrod's accomplishments, Nimrod was called the Great Hunter and a killer of large giants and things. So there were men on earth larger than the Raphaim. Now the Raphaim are regularly 12, 15 foot tall men. Regularly. But they got people that at 12, 15 feet tall already that they call giants. Who are these massive men? Right? And Nimrod was a killer of large giants and things. Large things too. While on the field of battle, Nimrod did sustain a loin injury when he engaged the one-eyed Raphaim named Arg. Arg, who named the land of Argos, who goes on to be Greece in Greek that we know today, Argos, the land of the Argosian, This is the precursor. It is a man, a giant man, a Raphaim, who dominated that area of the land. He's getting into a fight with Nimrod. Watch this. While on the field, Nimrod did sustain a loin injury, right? When he engaged the one-eyed Raphaim named Arg in warfare. That very same one-eyed Arg who fought alongside Og in the 100,000 giant war. When Nimrod wounded Arg's neck with the driver and chaser, The driver and chaser. This is a weapon, but it's a certain style of fighting. You dig what I'm talking about? I always seen a driver and a chaser as a penetrating weapon, right? Almost like a whip that could go straight like a sword. But it is a certain style of fighting. You know what I mean? Where certain tools are used. Excuse me. Right? When Nimrod wounded Arg's neck with the driver and chaser, Arg's his unconscious body. So you also got to know that we, in different times, the air is thicker. That man, it was easier for man to even heal at that time. And because you're so large, you have a large, what do you call it? Immunity system, and you heal faster. The organs that push the stuff to heal your body, heal it twice as fast. What they misunderstand is melanin really is natural body function heightened because you are larger. Arg's unconscious body fell to the ground with his outstretched hand still grasping the sword. So Nimrod then got him, hit him in the neck. He dropping, right? With his hand still grasping on the sword. The sword's blade sliced upward. After he hit the ground, boom, it sliced upward at Nimrod's loins, cutting open his foreskin. The skin of Nimrod's wounded member hung as a testimony to all. He then escaped the field of battle. I bet he did. Arg's giant army soon heard of the wound and knew to search the loins of the dead Nephilim on the field of battle for the circumcision of Nimrod. Nimrod knew his own vulnerability. He then returned to his army and reclined in his tent. He took the flint of a mountaintop. So he's taking a flint knife, right? And finished his own circumcision and bound his loins in sackcloth. Nimrod then had the braids of his hair shorn. So he had braids. This nigga got cornrows in his joints all the way back. It's a nigga. he in Africa. He in Northern Africa. That nigga didn't cut his braids off. You dig what I'm talking about? Dig, right? Nimrod then had his braids of his head shorn. He shaved his beard and his eyebrows and anointed his head with oil. His cup was then filled with wine. He reclined and considered. After a short spell, he arose and sacrificed many smaller cells and beseeched Mot, also called the wife of Baal. Mot is Ashtaroth. You'll find Mot worship in next to Molech, also called the wife of Molech. Mot, Baal, Molech. Okay, you're starting to put it together, right? Baal, Ashtaroth, Mot, Molech. Okay, all right, okay. After a short spell, he arose, sacrificed many. Nimrod then took the mountain flint and circumcised 1,000 Nephilim of his army. Those that refused were cut down by axe, driver, and chaser. And there, see, it's some type of weapon. I'm not actually sure exactly what the driver and chaser is, but the driver's chaser can be used on the ground. The driver and chaser can be used on animal back, and the driver and chaser can be used on flying beasts. They have flying beasts. And anybody who have read the Ramayana, the Vedas, the Mahabharata, have heard of the Gantikwa. The Gantikwa is mentioned here too. This is, man, it gets so deep. Let's read though. Let's see what they're talking about. Peace to the righteous gods, right? Does the false gods have their own ranks similar to the creator's ranks? Okay. Yes and no. A god is a god is a god. A lord is a lord is a lord, right? So there are ranks up and down. But just like there are ranks for spirits going up, this is to Roger Washington, right? Just like there is spiritual ranks, you would call you being a brand new spirit, right? Going upwards on the incline through the heavenly realms. He is called an Assayan. What do you call one that's not only lowered below the grades? What do you call a negative one person in spirit rate, born into the spirit world? Wouldn't they be called a Nimrod? Does that make sense? One even more greater than he is. What is the second spiritual rate down? How much you want to bet it's called an Og? This is how you get from 22,553 BC when the flood happened to talking about some stuff during Abram's time, 3953 BC. Because just like the king is the king is the king in 22,000, so is the king is the king is the king in 3953 BC. The same stuff that the evil spirits was on at that time being Ogian or Nimrodish is the same thing in spiritual inspiration given to the king during Abram's time. This is how they talking about two different times at the same time. Watch this. Great question, Roger Washington. How many false gods does it take to screw in the light bulb? Daryl Cosby, I see you, boy. So he didn't cut off his hair and his braids, sacrificed 1,000 people in his army. Anybody that refused got cut down with the axe and the driver and the chaser. And their Nephilim bodies were tied to trees for the beast, as tradition states. Mot caused a bowel sickness to afflict Arg's army. Nimrod's army rested and healed for 5 days while Arg's army recovered. So Mot looking out for Nimrod. While Baal is sending Og for Nimrod. Watch this though. And Nimrod said, with the flint of a mountaintop, heaps upon heaps, I have circumcised 1,000 men. And is not the valley where Nimrod circumcised the Nephilim still called the valley of the first foreskins to this day? Yes, it is. Look that up. On the 6th day, Nimrod and his army then went to war with no lower garments or loin coverings. The armies of Arg did not know which Nephilim was Nimrod in battle. One of Arg's army gazed upon the compromised members of Nimrod's army and were befuddled and dumbfounded by them. Nimrod's giants then attacked with clubs, driver and chaser, fists, boulders, and trees. They swinging trees and throwing boulders, and slew them all but one-eyed Arg and his bodyguards, who escaped to the forest in the mountains. When Nimrod became ruler of his portion of the great land, then he demanded circumcision throughout all of his Nephilim kingdom. I, Og, circumcised no males in my land. The Raphaim kept their members intact. After Nimrod's mandated circumcision, the 7-year famine began. For Baal of the earth was displeased. The famine from Baal of the earth consumed the land. The very earth itself was as dry and stiff with wounds at this time. Then came the false prophecy from the Nephilim and the Raphaim priests of Baal in both lands. The false prophecy led to the unspoken mistake and to our extinction. So they was probably in a you find out they in a drought. It's then ravaged the land. They trying to tell Baal to do, you know what I mean, help us out, replenish us, and you know what I mean? And thinking got a false inspiration from one of these Jujan deities. He told them to do something stupid and they did it. Right? And the fucked up part about it is Baal got to take the fall for it anyway, because he they God. Showing his falsity right there. I have hated everything Nimrod has loved, as I have hated his circumcised Nephilim kingdom. If I hated my circumcised brother giant and became a murderer of circumcised giants because of my hatred, so be it. I have a place in the afterlife. Baal and Mot, listen, Baal and Mot, we know who Baal rolled with. Baal rolled with Ashtaroth. Baal and Mot have considered my oaths between them and seen to it. Baal of the earth has damned Nimrod's name to eternally to eternally mean feeble-minded and simple. Nimrod's name shall be associated with the mad desire to maim genitals forevermore. It's the first time we hearing it, dog. This some deep shit. For Nimrod grew like a young plant, like a root out of dry ground. He had form and majesty that we should all look at him, and beauty that we should all desire him. Listen to this shit. Look what's going on. Right? He was championed by many. Still, I despise and reject him. He became a giant of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Circumcised Nimrod, the celebrated forefather of the tower of the smaller cells. The Tower of Babel. It is the feeble-bellied, half-membered Nimrod who killed us all. My hatred for Nimrod has become greater than any love I have known. He hates this man more than he loved his God. I, Og, have exceedingly and cruelly hated Nimrod. I, Og, have since eradicated him from existence. I have since gathered and eaten all of Nimrod's food stores, and I have eaten many of his smaller cells. Ball of the earth empowered I, Og, to rid the land of Nimrod. Ball of the earth despised the circumcision, and to whom did the powerful arm of Ball of the earth reveal itself? To I, Og. Are the tales of how I avenged the earth of that circumcised Nephilim for the loss of the moon child and more, are they not told in this very chapter, transcribed by Anak? Now listen to a brief history of Og, right? This is crazy. You know what I mean? Any questions, man? Anybody got you dig what I'm talking about? Just throw them in the chat, man. We'll get to it. Og tells his brief history. Lesta, queen of the Raphaim, and I, Og, were bred from the spoils of the Raphaim. Procreation harvest. Born of worship to Baal of the moon, born in the temple and reared in the height of plate, in the high places. Wasn't Baal worshipped in the high places? I, Og, trained in both the priesthood of Baal and with the driver and chaser, war arts. Lesta became a sorceress before Baal of the moon and a transcriber of words. Others born in the temple and trained in the high places at that time were, listen to these names. These are the people being born, who being raised up with Og and Nimrod. And watch this. In that time, right, that he was learning to be a priest of Baal, right? Others born in the temple and trained in the high places at that time were Sihon, Og, Sihon, also mentioned biblically. My brother, Ohaya, Hahaya, my way. These names should sound familiar if you read the book of Enoch. Maya, or Miri, Latat, the possessed, and Girion, the heavy. I always thought Latat could have been also, Lestat. You dig what I'm talking about? That's maybe where she might have got that from. Lestat, the possessed. Woo. And Girion, the heavy. We've heard of him before too in these mythic tales. Before the 100,000 giant war, or the Titanomachy, right? Before the confused circumcision, and before the unspoken mistake, there was a time of lush success. ball of the earth caused the waters to flow and for the crops to flourish in all of the great lands at that time. The great land was alive. The colors, sounds, and connections of being in the land were bright and different. The feed animals, right, were sleek and fat. The herds of, listen to what they herding. The herds of lizards, elephants, and rhinoceroses prospered. They raising up giant lizards, dinosaurs, elephants, and rhinoceroses, like chickens and goats and pigs, corralling them. They call them herd animals. They feed off of them. Wine, they ride them. Wine flowed. Fruits, nuts, and honeys were plentiful. Peace ruled all the land. There were no smaller cells in that time. What do we know? We know the first people like us, truly gone, start being made roughly around 16053 BC. Wasn't no modern man, wasn't no Homo sapiens on the earth at that time. So he's talking about pre-flood. Modern men don't even come to 6,000, roughly 16,000 BC. Flood happened 22,000 BC. He said, wasn't even no regular niggas like us on the planet at that time. Also going to show the timing that he's talking at two different times. Remember, the spirit low can connect from that time to this time. The king then and the king now are no less the king, even though they're different people. So that when the king said then and the king said now, even though two different people spoke, the king spoke. So this is how it can be mixed up, and when told in allegorical story or in trying to make sense, you know what I mean? Because men transcribe this stuff and write this stuff down, you know what I mean? As a matter of fact, a giant wrote this. This is Anna. But men are trying to transcribe it and make it make sense. And this is just what's left. This is an old ass partridge. It was written on skin, animal skins, and some pages and shit. It's crazy. But this is what we got left. Nimrod became ruler in this. The celebrated forefather of the tower of the smaller cells. It is the fecal-bellied half-member Nimrod who killed us all. My hatred for Nimrod has become greater than any love I known. Hold on. Okay, we back to old telling this story. Before the 100,000 giant war, before the confused circumcision, and before the unspoken mistake, there was a time of lush success, right? They said they had herds of lizards and elephants and rhinoceroses. He was raising them up like pigs. Wine flowed, fruit, nuts, and honey were plentiful. Peace ruled all the land. There was no smaller cells in that time. The season ball of the earth multiplied the nation of the Rephaim. This was during the foreign war between Nimrod and Tarshan, the giant's army. So Nimrod out here fighting long time ago. Tarshan the giant, who later fought on Og's behalf in the 100,000 giant war. Right? Did this. In our 300th year, the panic of childbirth seized my wife, Lesta, after she had become heavy with offspring. She then bore me Ogius. Yes, Ogius is the son of Og. Just the inheritor after traveling through great pain and labor, the birthing crippled Lesta. Bedridden. She was bedridden for 10 years after giving birth to Ogius. Og say, I took to connecting with Ogius. His breath became my breath. He became a good prince in the eyes of the kingdom and all who surrounded him. I taught him the ways, ball of the moon, the managing of my kingdom, the ways of the giant lizards, the ways of the elephants and rhinoceroses, the ways of the floating wild beasts. I then taught Ogius the ways of connection. Listen, remember the movie, what's the movie, man? Where they go on the world, they go on the, oh, you know what? Somebody tell me how I dropped the link. You dig what I'm talking about? Let me see how I dropped the link. Send this link to your guests. You may also want to share your instructions. Okay, you can have 10 other people. Copy clipboard. Copy. Okay. Is that how y'all get in right there? How I check the back? Hold on. Oh. Got my boy in the house now. Hey. This special here, y'all. Hold on, let me light my split before I even let him on. We already in the Nimrod, so I know he gonna get on here tripping. This my brother from no other. My guy. This my guy for real. My brother for real. Daryl Cosman. Let me make sure your mic on.
There we go. Can you hear me now, bro? Big bro.
Yeah, we got you, bro.
Man,
we got
tell
you
me,
here,
man, why is Creator doing this to me, man? Why is Creator doing this to me, man? Why is Creator doing this to me, man? I mean, look, I'm sitting here. I was checking out your vibe, and I'm reading your WASP all at the same time, man. And
right.
I'm sitting here, man, and I stumbled across some things, man. It just brought tears to my eyes, man. And I just don't know, man. Like, why would Jehovah lead me to start reading the Book of Judgment, man? And I landed on the content that I was looking for the topics that we're gonna be discussing in the near future, man. Come on now. Now I'm sitting here, man. Now one of these things, I ain't gonna even spoil it yet, though, man. But I know we gonna get on some heavy topics when we get our chance to bump heads, brother. But why I come across prayer?
I got to have you on the show, bro. You know what I mean? Because personally, I got a little insight, so I'll probably ask a little deeper question. But the good part is, you always got an answer, Daryl Cosman.
Bro,
You dig what I'm talking about? You freaking astound me sometimes with because sometimes you will say some stuff that's so simple that I feel stupid that I didn't think of it.
But you know what? But you know what, Kyle? That's mutual. We do that to each other.
Man.
You see what I'm saying? We do that to each other. We inspire each other's spirits like that. And that's like, we do that to each other, man. You, me, say like everybody in the family, we do it to each other, brother. And it's like you say things, and I'm gonna tell you one of the things that was profound that you told me. That I can't say it better than you can say it, but you can say it as I try to say it. But you said that the Creator creates every possibility. What did you say, man? You know what I'm saying. You know,
I say, Creator creates the possibility for the possibility of all possibilities. He that great, man. Listen, listen, bro. I know what you about to say, right? But before we go there, right? How you liking the show so far? This is Jehovah Chronicles number 11. Bro, you the first guest on here, man.
Oh man, I'm gonna be guessing on here when we kick off when we kick off one thing. But yeah, man, I'm loving the show, and we need platforms like this because although WASP encourages us really not to preach, I really don't consider that what we doing preaching. I consider what we doing is just sharing, because it's not like we forcing people to come to this, because they all supposed to, everybody, like no two men and women are made alike, and everybody gonna find Creator in their own fashion. And if it takes platforms like this to open their eyes because we are on here sharing, then this is what we must do. That's a good work. You see what I'm saying? Then it has value. And I believe that because it has value, this is something that must be. You see what I'm saying? I find value in it personally, even though I'm in the family. I find it valuable as well because, like I say, I continue to get inspired by you. You know, we inspire each other. And so I'm not going to be somebody that's egotistical and say, oh, I know a WASP, I ain't got to listen to my other brothers and sisters about anything. No, I'm still learning. I'm still a work in progress. I should say we still learning. We're a work in progress, because it's not about me, it's about us. We in it together. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. When the gods come and they got to judge a planet, they not dividing it up by political party. They're not just dividing it up by race or creed or whatever. They looking at the collective, and that's how they judge the spiritual rate of a planet. You see what I'm saying? And that alone lets you know and proves that we are in it together.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? It don't even matter. It don't matter, man. That's why we beyond race. That's why we be beyond all these isms that they put out here to divide us, man. Gotta be.
Yeah, man. You dig what I'm talking about? That's you right on point. You dig what I'm talking about? We're not really trying to force anything on anybody. We just giving y'all an understanding of what we have and showing you. See, this is what the Jehovah Chronicles is really for, to show you why we saying what we saying, to prove all things. You dig what I'm talking about? To really test the spirit. We're not just telling you this because we think we right. Well, let me show you why we right, and it's different than whatever y'all talking about. That's the thing. We find out in the end of the day, Creator is so great. He is so incomprehensible. He does things at a level.
It's a level that's beyond comprehension.
Yeah,
it's a level that's beyond comprehension because, people have this way of questioning why Creator goes about doing the thing with the way the Creator does it. Well, number one, man, we're finite, and our minds are limited to such things. You can't dictate what the Creator should and shouldn't do. Just like you pointed it out about, and not to pick on the Israelite family, but you pointed out about how they hate on Nimrod being the one that they use to channel the information through.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But then when you get into the information, you forget about all that. But but a lot of them can't see past the racism to even get to the OWASP and to read the information and to see that, whoa, wait a minute, this has an agenda that's far beyond this man's skin color,
far beyond race. You know what I mean? And far beyond any man's capacity to. There's no way you could have made this stuff up. No man could have. There's not enough history known in the world to just make this up. There is no way.
It'll be the biggest trick ever played on mankind, man. I swear to God.
Period.
It'll be the biggest. Period. It'll be the biggest trick ever played on mankind.
You dig what I'm talking about?
I don't think one man would have put so much effort into such a thing,
and then not take credit for it.
Did not take credit for it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's all good, man. What you got popping tonight, bro?
Man, I'm just doing my studies, man. I'm about to come up with. I'm about to write I'm in the process of writing a prayer that I can recite every morning, and I'm gonna share it with some of the brothers and sisters too once I get done with it.
Yeah.
Because it's about that time that I start progressing myself and stepping up and start really saying a prayer every day and speaking to the soul. And it's funny because this is something that I decided to do this morning, but that's why I came on the platform and said, why is Jehovah doing this to me, man? Because he sent me right into the book of judgment. I was in the middle of reading the book of discipline, but something told me, man, read the book of judgment. And I came across this part, man, that says,
where you at, bro?
Huh? I'm right here in book of judgment, chapter 2. Verse 4.
Verse 4. That's crazy. I was one page over.
Come on now. You see how he work?
That's crazy.
You see how he work?
That's crazy.
You see how he work?
Ahead, bro. Read that real quick.
Go ahead. Check this out, man. Check this out. Check what it say. Check out what it say about prayer, man. Let me see. I'm gonna start. Should I start from 2? I'm gonna go ahead and just start from 1. God. I'm gonna just go ahead and start from 1, man. God, ambassador of Jehovah. Come on now, because God ain't even God just a big brother.
You're
God,
right.
ambassador of Jehovah says, you shall assemble for the communion of angels regularly and maintain intercourse with them. For in no other way can you demonstrate the immortality of the soul. That's continued life of the spirit. Because what has creator come to do? Creator has come to show and prove, right?
Right.
Doing this in the name of Jehovah and for spiritual light in regard to spiritual things. Whoever consults the spirits for earthly things shall fall in darkness. But when you assemble, let no man or spirit be a spectator to others. But as all men labor in the field to gather the harvest, so shall all members in the assembly by prayer or by music contribute a glory to the Father. Come on now. Remembering
everybody got a part to play.
Everybody got a part to play. Remembering that the humblest prayer, even with weak words, check this out. Remembering that the humblest prayer, even with weak words, if given with a full heart, is as strong to Jehovah as the best oratory. Come on now.
Come on,
it's
man.
the intent. All you got to do is mean it.
Yeah.
All you got to do is mean it. Now check this out. From all men, the Spirit shall pour forth to the Father in praise. You see what I'm saying? I got to pray, man. According to what has been created to it. Nor is more required of any man. Now check this out. But dope. This shall happen to many, learning to speak by entrancement or by inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
They shall imagine themselves controlled by certain angels when in fact, check this out, this is what prayer do. When in fact, it is only their own spirit eliminated from the corporal senses. Have you ever felt high when you prayed or high when you vibed?
Yes.
And you felt like you weren't even in your body no more?
Yeah.
What about this, man? Eliminated from time. How many times you vibe, man, and it felt like you vibe for only 10 minutes and a whole hour, 2 hours then went by. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
How do you think some of these videos that Sailor and you do end up 4 damn hours?
Also, you ever woke up in the morning and knew you was woke, but You look over at the clock, it's 6 o'clock. You close your eyes for 2 seconds. You wake up, it's 15, 20 minutes later. You're like, oh,
Yep.
I gotta go. You was
Yep.
really in that, in yourself.
Come on now.
You dig what I'm talking about? Perceiving
now.
self in a dream state. You dig what I'm talking about? Or like in a state of prayer. That's crazy. Look, bro. I got it highlighted. You dig what I'm talking about?
Come on now.
I got it highlighted.
Come
The
on
same
now.
thing you just read. Can you see that?
Look. I see it.
People say okay, but you would say I was crazy. You dig what I'm talking about? If I told you that really happens, you think he just be talking, man. No.
You see what I'm saying?
No.
You see how the connection is though, big bro?
But this was dope right here though. He said, remembering that the humblest prayer, even with weak words, if given with a full heart, is as strong unto Jehovah as the best oratory. So not only the humblest prayer given with weak words, you can have the humblest prayer given with no words.
Given with no words.
You can
given with no words.
This is the proof that it's the intent.
It's the intent, bro. It's practice only. Check this out and watch this. Now watch this, bro. Go ahead and hit them with number 9. Hit them with number 9 real quick. Watch this. Watch this one.
Let no man concern himself as to whether it be the spirit of himself or an angel. For it is only the subject uttered which is of value. In this day, all things shall stand on their own merit and not on a supposed authority.
I don't know whether to laugh or to cry, brother.
I got it highlighted. But hold on.
I don't know whether to laugh or to cry, man.
Look, you gotta read 10 too. You can't just. You gotta read 10.
You gotta read 10, 11. You gotta read. Hold on. I got my page flipped around. Hold on a second, man. This is 141. This is 1141. Where 1142 go? Kind of lost my page. Oh, I got 1140. It's on the back. Oh man, hold on. There was one in here that was. I didn't highlight it. Shoot. It was one. It was somewhere around this area, man. You might know what I'm talking about. But he said something about practice. Oh no, it's right there. Chapter 1. I'm thinking about chapter 1. Chapter 1, 50. My fault. Go ahead, though, bro.
50.
Chapter 1, verse 50 was backing up what we were just saying about your actions, about practice. Yeah. So 50 to 52. Chapter 1.
Behold, the day of preaching and professions is at an end. I will have practice only. Whoso is not in my organic kingdoms on earth shall go into my inorganic kingdoms in heaven. Like unto like created are the heavens and the earth and all things therein.
Come on now. Come on now. And you got people walking around here thinking that if they pray and worship this Jesus character that they saved, they can behave like they want to, bro. I got news for them. However you act here on earth, that's exactly where your ass going in heaven. Exactly where your ass going in heaven. I'm gonna tell you something, man.
Listen, I want to drop this on you too, right? Check out 2 and 13 though. This is a heavy verse.
Chapter 2:13.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, bro. You can't even stop at 13, man. If you read 13, bro, I got this. I'm putting this in the presentation because remember in the presentation I touched on subjectivity and objectivity.
Yes.
This is what I was reading when you brought me in. I said, I was sitting there and I was like, man, I gotta find something to
hold on real quick, bro. Let me grab my water.
Let me grab
water real quick.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I want you to you could go ahead and read this, man. But this is what's going to be in the presentation too. So we're gonna circle back on this when we do the formal presentation. But check this out. You can't read 13 without reading 14, 15.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You see what I'm saying? Because let me tell you something, Cal. I was reading this right when you brought me in. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you have the floor in a second. But I was reading this right when you brought me in. And I was kind of pouring tears a little bit, man. I said, why did the creator do this to me, man? Because remember on the slide, I had that I was touching on subjectivity and objectivity, right? Remember on the presentation you got the slide, right? Now watch this, man. Watch this. I was looking for something. I said, man, I know I read it in here, man, but where is the topic on subjectivity and objectivity, right?
Yeah.
I know I read it in here, man. Why did Jehovah have me read the book of Judgment tonight, brother? Go ahead and read 13 and 14.
Listen, bro.
Go ahead.
It is wiser for the spiritual minded to keep to themselves, especially when communing with Jehovah and his angels. For a greater wonder than these will follow.
Watch this.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Watch and listen.
Stop. Wait a minute. Listen. Hold on. You can't just walk past that.
Listen.
Like just communion with the angels is something you just
listen.
What the hell, creator?
Listen, but you know what? But you know what though? But what it say though? But what it say? What it say in the beginning of the book? I give you a new sense. And we gonna talk with
new sense. You gonna read the books of heaven.
You gonna read the books out of the libraries of heaven, homie. Let's go. Keep going for them.
For a great wonder, the these will follow. Some will enter the trance of the first resurrection and go in spirit out of the body.
Come on,
but
now.
Only subjectively.
Only subjectively. Okay, now keep going. Watch this. Go. Keep going.
Others will enter the trance of the second resurrection and go in spirit out of the body objectively. And the first shall not believe, but the second was like himself, going only subjectively. This is deep. No two men in all the world have I created alike, saith Jehovah. Even many have after death are not capable of entering the second resurrection objectively. He that is in subjective state speaketh and writeth from the earth looking upward. He that cometh of the objective heavens speaketh and writeth as one come down from my kingdoms to the earth.
He can tell you the whole lay of the land. He can tell you the whole lay of the land, right? How somebody on earth gonna tell you the whole lay of the land? He ain't even been up there to see the view. Come on now.
Exactly.
Come on.
You
now.
dig what I'm talking about? And also shows spiritual inspiration. Who talking? Is the low talking or is the high talking? Because the man speaking from the earth up is still gonna speak about earth. He gonna tell you from an earthly, manly point of view.
Indirect.
Because he ain't really no higher than you is.
He ain't no higher. Exactly.
You dig what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
But as one sitting at the bird's eye view who got a full scope of the information, everything isn't so critically down on the earth. He tells things in micro and macro.
Man, you can't stop there though, man. You gotta hit him with you gotta keep hitting him with it. Check this out though. I'm going to tangent real quick, man. You ever been on an airplane, man, and flew over a storm and saw lightning from above? You ever seen that before? Man, I'm gonna tell you something, bro. I'm gonna tell you something. I was terrified of ever riding through a lightning storm on an airplane.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. The plane be doing all that crazy jumbling.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something, Calvin. I'm gonna tell you something.
I don't like.
I'm gonna tell you something. My lady can vouch for me. Why, man? Check it out. I was terrified of ever being on an airplane in a lightning storm. Tell me why, man. I'm flying back from we flying back from Miami. This was a couple years ago, man. And we flying in during a storm. You know, I'm sitting there, like, I'm ready to piss in my pants. I'm like, man, it's a storm. I'm flying in the airplane. Tell me why I looked out the window, Calvin, and seeing how beautiful that damn lightning was in them clouds from the top. I was glued to the window like this. Glued to the window. Like, look at that shit right there.
It'll astound you. You'll forget you were scared.
Glued to it. I was glued to the window.
Dig this, though. Two conditions will manifest. Subjective spiritualists will affiliate with the world's people, being deniers of the ever-present person, and they will pursue earthly avocations for self's sake. But objective spiritualists, being such as live for the spirit's sake, will be faithists. Look at this, man.
There it is. Hey, there it is right there. Now, you know we're doing a presentation now, right? You know how we coming now, right? Keep on going. Watch when he described the three men that's in the world. Watch this. Go ahead. Keep
Jehovih, right? Believers in the ever-present spirit, ever-present person, Jehovih, whom they will worship not only in words, but by abjuring self and uniting themselves in brotherhoods. Create a gang.
Ain't that what we doing?
Shout out
don't we acknowledge each other brother and sister? Don't we call each other brothers and sisters?
That's right. It's a brotherhood. For sake of doing good unto others. These latter are the chosen people of the Father of the Cosmon Aerodero. We really the first ones doing it.
And it's only gonna get better.
Foundation.
And it's only gonna get better, man. It's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get better. That's what's crazy about it. You think we bad? Y'all think we bad? Y'all think Selah bad? Y'all think Cal bad?
You don't got no idea what's coming. You have no idea what's coming.
We just the roots. We ain't even the stem and the bloom.
We the bottom of the basement.
We just the roots. We just the roots in the dirt.
Man, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you see one of these kids fly across the room. Read a book without opening it.
We gonna be the ones that have to come back as guardian angels and guide them. Come on now, how much of a glory is that?
Look, people ought to also recognize today that it's the indigenous Americans, the Aboriginal Americans, that are inspiring the people of America today as a whole. It is them Negroidal people you was shucking and jiving over in the 15, 13, 14, 1700s. You dig what I'm talking about? Who had been here in America 25,000 years. Didn't needed no help. Was doing all right with or without you.
Somebody in the chat was asking about my channel handle. I don't have a channel. I do have a Daryl Cosma on YouTube, but I don't do anything on it. You have to add me on Facebook. Just look me up, Daryl Cosma.
That's my brother Yaso Fit.
Yeah. Peace to the brother, man.
Yaso Fit actually created the acronym GANG.
Okay.
Gods and Nirvanian goddesses. Shout out.
I was about to ask you what it was, man. I like that.
Gods and Nirvanian goddesses.
I like that, man. I love that. I more than like it. I love it. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
The gang is a brotherhood.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a brotherhood. It could be a brotherhood of light or a brotherhood of darkness. You see what I'm saying?
There's a difference between being a mob and being a gang, and it's all about what you're doing.
Right.
You dig what I'm talking about? You're doing negative, you're a criminal. Right. You're doing positive, you're a brotherhood.
Just like what we read though, is the value, it's the intent.
It's the intent. You gotta go look at the spiritual purpose of everything, and this is why words were even created.
Come on now.
You know what I mean? But look, hold on.
Keep going, brother. Get better.
Right. But why? Why is it good to be a faithist in these times? Why is it good to get back in line with the Creator, right?
Let's go.
Jehovah, whom they will worship, not only in words, but at yourself and uniting themselves in brotherhoods for the sake of doing good unto others. These latter, these faithists, are the chosen people of the Father of the cosmon era, and they will become supreme.
Come on now, all over the world, all over the world.
In all
Come
the
on
world.
now. Why you think Christians want us beheaded? What they say the Antichrist come to do, to unite the world.
To unite the world.
And they painted us as see how they painted us as the devil. Come on,
but
now.
It's okay because that God tricked them into believing he was the creator, but he getting exposed now and today.
Exactly. So here we go.
You dig what I'm talking about? And look, you got to read 15 too. You got to
keep moving. You can't stop. That's why I said it when you started reading that, bro. I said you can't stop there. You can't stop there. You got to
leave it, because these three peoples, the world's peoples, the believers, and the faithists, have been in all ages of the world.
Come on now.
The latter only of them all practiceth harmony and good works. Both of the others are resistance. Even the believer is a resistant, a quarreler, and a warrior, and a disintegrator, and a breaker down of all things, a hater.
Come on, a hater. What they say is another one they say in their WASP too, a bringers down or something like that.
A disintegrator,
a disintegrator, a hangers, not the hangers on. That's the Levites.
That's the
a bringers down. You are bringers down. It's in the book of knowledge. It's in the book of knowledge. I didn't highlight it, but I know it's in there.
A destroyer of all things.
A stagnator, a regressor.
Doing declination.
Anti-progression.
You dig what I'm saying? You are in retrograde.
The only thing you progress at doing is regressing. That's the only thing you progress at doing is regressing. You a progressive regressor.
Look at this though. Look at this. Yet the faith is having faith in the all person shall ultimately. So that means after all the bullshit is over,
all the bullshit is said and done.
Right, when shit shake to the cream float to the top, true.
All the ugly, tell them what happened. Tell them what's gonna happen.
Right. The faith is having faith in the all person shall ultimately possess the whole earth.
Whole earth. It's over with. It's over with.
But
it's over.
But it's not about domination. It's not about taking over. It's about liberating. Because what they gonna
liberating everybody. It ain't about controlling nobody. It ain't about controlling resources. It ain't about telling this man what he shouldn't do. It ain't about anarchy. It's about pure Jehovah organic government of men, women, and children. Come on now.
Yeah, all in service to the Creator.
All in service to the.
Listen, black folks. No matter whatever you do, it don't matter what you do. If Creator is not the focus, the one, the leader, the first thought and the afterthought, whatever it is you do will fail.
You know what? I'm gonna follow with this. I like the song from one of Killer Priest's albums. It start out, your arms is too short to box with God, right? So that being said, the biggest bomb you create ain't gonna be able to blow what's coming away. The biggest, fastest bullet you create ain't gonna be able to shoot it away. And your biggest, strongest telescope ain't big enough to see what the fuck is coming. So they can keep on doing what they doing.
Facts.
Because their arms is too short to box with what's coming, homie. So and it ain't nothing dangerous. we about to hit a new beginning.
I can't say that, man, because Jehovah do some things. And boy, when he do them, he don't play. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
imagine another escrow. Could you imagine escrow right now? I couldn't fathom it. You know what I mean? So I get why they say, you know, history sometimes just falls off the map and there's just holes in history.
Man.
You know what I mean? Because
man,
stuff got utterly destroyed. You know what I mean? I mean, to where the thought of it don't exist no more. That's crazy. There are things where even the thought of it don't exist. This is how you lose ancient technologies, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I just got a message from your boy. I think that's him. You can see me check the name again.
Y'all so fit.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
Yeah, that's the homie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we out here though. We out here, Cal. But yeah, though, man. Much love and light to you, brother. Was you done reading? Was you gonna keep on moving forward?
Well, you know what? We done got on to something else. I think I'm gonna just come back with a Nimrod part 2. Bring some more. You dig what I'm talking about?
Oh man, you already know it's gonna go on. You already know it's gonna go on a tangent, King man.
Og. Your boy be through it. Look, the page is all turned, beat up. You dig what I'm talking about? Man, I be in it. Man, you dig what I'm talking about? We gonna get into tomorrow. We gonna get into the prophecy in the 100,000 giant war. You dig what I'm talking about? And we gonna get to breaking down that you know, more Raphaim Nephilim information. We're gonna get into the giants themselves who came from all around the world.
Boy, you cold with that. You cold with that history, man. You cold with that history, man.
And their descriptions, their names, many of these names, they'll jog or something. You dig what I'm talking about? Just hearing the name. And then once you hear the makeup of the styles of different Raphaim all over the world. So the Raphaim is the Ahuan. Giant man. And then they say there were Ahuans who were the giant Ahuans, right? The regularly 12-foot, 15-foot man. There was a man on earth they called giants. How big was that dude? So he had to at least be double what they was to be considered a giant.
Yeah, it can be considered a giant because you gotta see it like this too. You know, from the perspective of a 3-foot iron. You know what I'm saying? Well, how tall do you have? What measurement qualifies you to be called giant in the perception of a 3-foot iron?
But it don't even say that these is irons at this time, and we know irons was in very small supply at these times. So they whatever lesser cells, I think that they're talking about drugs. They're talking about the drug type. You dig what I'm talking about? Yeah. The mixed drug types, maybe Anguigan types, because in the time of the Anguigans, we find the Setika, the red-haired giants of America running around eating Indians.
Damn.
You dig what I'm talking about? Doing and saying the same thing Og say he doing. And then
you say he was all right. You say he was pissing on people.
And then look, one of the guys that come to fight for Og in the 100,000 giant war come from America, and he copper colored.
Wow.
Okay, so you dig, and he a giant. He a Raphaim. You dig what I'm talking about? This is just the mode of man at the time. People gonna have to get with it, or science and history and truth is just gonna just pass you by.
Yeah, man. I mean, history and science class ain't shit, man. When
You dig what I'm
in the
talking
public
about?
schools,
It
ain't.
is what it is, man. All they can do is try to lay creation against creator to try to prove he is. They just trying to understand what's around them. Them same questions being asked forever. Yeah. That's why there's a whole book of tape. Niggas been asking these questions forever.
When I first read a Waspy and I read the book of tape, I said, "Damn, this sounds just like me."
That's what I.
Exactly. And then when I read about the Ahuans and especially with Moses, I said, "Damn, this sounds just like me."
Right.
I said, "Damn, I'm copper colored." I said, "Mine Ahuan." I said, "What's going on around here, man?"
Now it threw me off for a minute with the irons, the white and the yellow. Threw me off for a minute, but then I had to keep reading. I didn't let my biases hate what was going on, because there was white skin irons, but they showed white.
Right. So and that's something that's been boggling my mind for years. But it takes me years to really come to like understand what Waspy be telling me sometimes. Yeah. And so when you in your last video, when you broke down that they were glowing like moon color, you know what I'm saying? It was like giving off an aura like the moon, and you when the skin is glowing, you can't tell underneath it what color the skin is, but once they ain't glowing, you can't tell that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And one thing is for sure, they're definitely not the Caucasian light copper man of today. No. They're not that. That's not what they are.
Even though I believe even different, that there was a cut of iron that was pale white.
Yeah, just pale white. Right. Exactly. Because
there was some red ones, there was some copper ones. Or copper ones, red copper. There were some brown ones. There were some black ones. There were some yellow skin ones. And depending on where you was and who you mix with, is what your color is.
Right, and that's what I was about to get to, because we gotta read reality, because as it says, you gotta read Jehovah's created. You gotta read from Creator's Jehovah. Oh my God, you have to read from Jehovah's created universe.
Right.
Things if you want to understand and to judge, right? And so one thing is for sure is that when you mix dark and light, you're gonna get what's in between. That's what the result is gonna be. The result is gonna be what's in between.
A bunch of gray.
So I mean, I don't know, but either way, whatever these irons were, they ain't the Caucasians or the white folks of the day. They're not that. No. They're not that. Because they very well could be just pale white. And why is that a bad thing? It's not.
No. And I wouldn't give a damn.
Man, the black man of today is not the truth.
That's not what it's saying, because fresh off the boat into America, fresh off the boat into Africa, fresh off the boat into China, and fresh off the boat into India, we find black
melanated.
And brown.
They was melanated, right? They all came from Pond. They all came from Waga. So
right.
There's something's got to be something's got to be. There's got to be an explanation for something, man. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, it'll come around full circle, man. Because like I say, I had one of them parts I've been trying to understand was that whole ed deal. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? We broke that. We broke that down.
What was that?
The Iowa.
Oh, Iowa.
Yeah. We broke that down. It took me years to get that figured out. But it's like I say, it's content in there that I'm just like, I need to sit on this for a minute. But it wasn't enough to stop me from reading through the book, like you said.
The book gives you enough clarity. You dig what I'm talking about? To where if you ponder on it just long enough, you can understand it. And this is what I like about cohesiveness. It can say something that, in the earlier chapters, right? That you will get a glimpse of, like, what?
Yep.
And then in the later books, it clear it up.
It clears
or
it up.
give you an
It sure
instant
does.
to show you how to prove it to yourself in real life.
Yeah. Because think about all the little snack bites you get when you reading Book of Jehovah. And then when you get to cosmogony, you're like, damn, that's what he was talking about. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. Well, Osby gonna mention something to like blow your mind. Like, what?
Listen, every day, bro. Every day. Listen, I was just in. I just got it. I forgot that this stuff even existed, dog. I mean, I've read it a bunch of times, but it's like every time I see it, it's something new.
Right. But don't you always find yourself reciting it? But you forget that you read it, and then you read it again, and you say, that's what I've been saying, because it's always been living with you. You know what I'm saying? And then also, you so cold that the information is with you just that much that you find yourself formulating your own, I don't want to say theories, but your own judgment on something, right? Or your own perception on something. You go, damn. I know I got to be right about that. I know I got to be right about that. But then you go back to the old and it's right there. You're like, damn, I knew it the whole time, man. I knew what I was talking about. So it's bizarre, man. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. If there was a wasp on every shelf in America, boy, it'd be a different world.
If a solution, this is Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy 4. Chapter 4 and 16, right? I just came across this the other day, and
I'm scared of this.
I had it crossed up, right? If a solution of iron, transparent, or of quinine, or other recipient of negative electricity be sprinkled on the cloth, the actinic ray will not result in the electric spark, and no bleaching effect will be produced. And even sometimes, on the contrary, a black spot will result. Wherever the vortexian current falleth, corpor is more or less damaged or dissolved or changed in its combination. This is right here what you really, hold on, let me go. I'm gonna read it a little bit. I'm gonna read a little bit further. On the piece of iron, fresh broken, it produces rust, because the vortexian solution contained oxygen. This effect have been called oxidation. Nevertheless, in point of fact, oxygen of itself is inert. The break of its needles liberated vortexia, which result is a minor representation of the discharge of an electric spark from the bottom of a battery.
Lightning.
But this is also in man, right? This loss of vortexia is called aging.
Wow.
And this also goes to explain why white skin burns while melanated does not, but does get darker.
Right. They say black don't crack, beige don't age.
No, black reflect.
White
double down.
I thought we absorb it. I thought they reflected.
No. They absorb it. That's why they can't be in the sun.
Right. That's why they burn. Yeah. Yep.
But this is what people gotta understand. We use sun because of our skin pigment and because where it is best suited for.
Right.
They have a higher natural body temperature. Also, they double down the sun, right? So in lower light levels, they'll be able to still dominate cooler regions.
And in cooler regions, correct, because it's right there, in the Book of Jehovah that wherever the vortex is strong, is the darker your skin color is going to be because of the heat. So the further away you are from the vortex, the lighter skin you are. Yeah.
Correct.
And we absorb it for sure because we turn things because our skin turns sunlight into vitamin D.
Jehovah make you look at things different.
Oh yeah.
Because regardless to what, you don't got to believe nothing about what Owaspi say about the history. You ain't got to believe the timetables of prophecy.
Correct.
Book of Divinity, even though you can't get around it. The Book of Divinity, the Book of Judgment, Safa, I would say Escra also, your Book of Kingdom on Earth, Book of Inspiration, stuff like that. You can't really get around that, but what's going to turn the world on its ear? What's going to change the game? Because it's going to force you to think different. Is the Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy.
Yeah.
You can't deny it. It don't
it's,
care about what you think. It don't care about what you say.
Yeah.
It is straight truth, and it turns everything we've been taught on its head.
Yeah. Well, it was through the book of Cosmogony and Prophecy that I learned that Venus is so Venus is the only planet that spins in the opposite direction. So what does that mean? If you understand what vortex is and what North Pole is and magnetism is based on the Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy, you understand that Venus is upside down. So that means that its North Pole is what we perceive as our South. You see what I'm saying? So you can't go to Venus acting the same way. The North Pole is the bottom of the planet, and the South Pole is the top of the planet. You see what I'm saying? So you see that
the coldest part and the most powerful part of the vortex is what we know as south. But our planet is attenuated to our sun's north, so it means our south is north.
Yeah, solar north,
points north away from our sun.
Yeah.
North to it's what they call a haidan, or it's northernmost.
Yeah, haidan. It's like when you get the most light. Yeah, it's the most light.
Haidan. Yeah. Our Earth is attenuated on its toroid towards the planet on its vortex. So this is why the energy dump, which is cool, vortexian, it's not hot, it's cool. This is why Antarctica and the ice sheet is the biggest in the world on the bottom of the planet. And not at the top. But emanating from the top, this misunderstood electromagnetic energy, which is really vortexia, dumps out of the planet, and it's called the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
Y'all can see it up there good too.
Right. That's why it happens. Yeah, that's why it happens up there. And I've been in the South too. It doesn't happen in the warmer climates of the vortex or not. Yeah. So there's there was a lot of sciences that I learned in Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy like that. I said, damn. So what I think about light rays, they say it's a crest and a troll, when really it's needles, and they traveling in a straight line, things like that. That was crazy to read, man, in the Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy. A lot of things I learned in that book, man. But hey, big bro, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the sack, man. It's 12:30 here. I gotta work in the morning. But it was good to vibe with you
all the time, my guy.
And once I get this presentation put together, man, we're gonna go ahead and really hit them with some heavy stuff, man. Big time. So that's coming soon, y'all, for sure.
For sure. Y'all look out for that Daryl Cosmon, man. He gonna come on here and jump on Jehovah Chronicles with your boy. We gonna break it down. He gonna have a hellified build from what I've seen so far, man.
Oh yeah.
Heavy stuff, bro. Heavy stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Tune in, man. Sub, like, share, man. We gonna get into Nimrod.
All right.
Why not? You dig what I'm talking about? Right. Why not finish on Nimrod? King Og, you know what I mean? Jehovah Chronicles number 12. You dig what I'm talking about? We gonna come back with Nimrod too. You dig what I'm talking about? Mighty Hunter before the earth. We gonna break him down and let the light shine on it. You dig what I'm talking about? Thank you for coming by to my brother from my
man. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's always gonna be something when we bump heads, bro. So
this my brother, right? We got the same father, different mothers. You get what I'm talking about? And always good to see you, bro. You know what I mean? We gonna put it together. everybody out there, we need to go ahead and put us a Faithless family reunion together soon. You know what I mean? Soon. You dig what I'm saying? Shout out to the chat. Yes. You dig what I'm talking about? Yes. Sub, like, share. We gonna get into Nimrod 2 tomorrow. It's gonna be epic. We went heavy today. We in here about 3.5. It's about time for your boy to crash. You dig what I'm talking about? I done blew me a big splipper ting, boy. Now it's time to go ahead and get into some studies real quick. You dig what I'm talking about? And then I'm gonna probably go ahead and lay it down, man.
Yeah, you already know, man. But I'm gonna tell everybody like this: sufficient is Jehovah to all his creations. Sufficient is he, man. Sufficient is he.
Yes.
And without his presence, none of this would be made possible.
Right.
So keep that in mind. All right. Much love to you, man.
Any last words? Any last words before you go, bro?
That was it right there, man.
Okay.
That's all my last words right there. Sufficient is he to all his creations, and without his presence, nothing will be made possible. As above, so below.
So below. Hey.
Cosmon out, baby.
All right, baby. Be cool. It's my brother Daryl Cosmon come through, share some light with your boy, man. Just so happy we in the same chapter. It ain't no mistake. You dig what I'm talking about? Y'all so fit in the chat. Roger Washington in the chat. The bronze one. You dig what I'm talking about? You know. Shout out to Lil Bird. Shout out to the birds. You dig what I'm talking about? For baby Jake failed today. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. It was a good one. Had to let my dog in, man. You know, that's my guy. But it was a good build. We gonna get back into it tomorrow. This Jehovih Chronicles. It's your boy Cosmon, man. We're gonna zoom through the nebula. You dig what I'm talking about? Got on our lemon pepper stepper in the nebula. You dig what I'm talking about? We was lemon pepper stepping in the spaceship. You dig what I'm talking about? But now it's time, you know what I mean? Blast off into another dimension. So, you know, as we say, man, all you got to do is stay prayed up. Do good works, man. It's your boy Cosmon, man, and I'm totally Nebula. Put it in the air.
And oh yeah, put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh, just that Japheth, that Chow Mein, that Papabul, that Tao Mein, since sun south in the arc of Wayne, my brain moving like Tao Sang. So ass above, it's so below, that up and that down thing. This flow is atmospheric, I call that a ground game. See, water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning. So how your God make a sun without vortexing current? See the pattern is ponic, I'm reaching out for my people. Oh, watch me flow through your speakers, you feel the force of the ether. And when the force hit the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing put equal. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN. It's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rap a lot just like Tila. Went from sinner to saint. Shout out my big homie Sealer. Got more torque than a sports car. Got more work than a door stop. And the 4 million I make, I'm giving giving the doctor, ooh my, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Super 7 in my rites and ceremonies. I'm married to Jehovah, holy matrimony. Confucius say, in the words of Caillou, before you hit the tomb, be a bridegroom. Only got one question for Miss Susan B. On how to last Ahuin is now a ennui. Blame my inspiration, I'm just thinking thoughts. But in the way of God's, we gon' keep it short. Why Jesus wanna kill me, Matthew 10:34. Just a couple questions that I'm needing to know. Oh, watch me flow, it's so potent. Set the vortex in motion. Super 7, I'm floating across the Aegean Ocean. Oh, you a Muslim now, so I guess you making salat. Well, I'm a Israelite, I'ma make him at the Shabbat. Got Moses on the bumper, super slap off in my spaceship photosphere. So I stay lit, peace and light to the faith is so yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in